Please make your case. Why should you be the nominee and not the former president?
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, I mean, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Ross.
Sorry. This is how we get our country back. We need accountability because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to Governor Christie. Why?
Your time is up. Your time is up.
Who was that guy? What was he yelling about?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on there? I haven't been following this thing.
That was the opening statement by Vivek and the vice presidential debate.
Who is he talking to? Chris.
That was Lester Holt who said your time.
Oh no, but he said I don't know who the panelists were.
The female who did that, the rictus grin.
Right. Is she MSNBC or something? Or
they're NBC.
NBC. Okay, because that's who you want moderating a debate for you, is those people.
Especially Republicans, right? You know, because they see eye to eye, and they would think definitely what the primary voters consider, because they're very in tune. They're obviously concerned about Second Amendment and other. Their alignments are completely right down the line.
Well, this whole thing about Ronna McDaniel, the head of the RNC, I'll ask anybody out there. Tell me the head of the DNC. I'll wait. Because it's meaningless. The whole job is meaningless. It's a crony job that's given by the president of the United States when he's in power. LBJ put his crony in there, and it's to stamp down any uprisings in the party as the hatchet man for the guy. It's never a name guy. It's always like a crony or a nepotistic job. He, apparently Trump, endorsed her again when she was running against the attorney from out here, who has been recently successful as Trump's attorney. So she serves at the pleasure of the president, the head of the party. Let me just put it that way. So
I question it. I question the choice, though. You do know her maiden name, right?
It doesn't matter. The job itself is a meaningless job. It always has been a meaningless job. The focus on her is completely erroneous. She has no power. The power is of the president of the United States and the head of the party. It's a crock of crap to go after this woman. Not that I like her, whatever she's doing there. Tell me what head of the RNC or the DNC has ever been attacked in the media before, in your memory.
Wasserman Schultz.
I guess that she resigned because of the scandal of the Bernie.
Tulsi Gabbard quit, yeah. And
no. Tulsi Gabbard wasn't the head of the DNC.
No, she was the deputy, second in charge. She quit.
Right. Okay.
And dropped a dime on Wasserman Schultz.
Who successfully went back to Florida and didn't give a rat's ass. It was one less thing she had to do.
That might be, but to say that they're irrelevant, I'm going to disagree, because they do have the purse and they do give to candidates down line. So that is of importance.
I hope they keep going after her, because that's really important. Just like these vice presidential debates are really important, because I keep saying the longer this goes, the less media focus there is on Trump. There's only a certain amount of time in the media day. There's like 8 hours in the media day. If you take 2 hours out of the media day and start focusing on this bullshit, that's less time to focus on the former president running for re-election and his trials and tribulations.
All right, fair enough. But he's
the
only person who's actually running for office. He's not the only election going on.
It's the most important election in the history.
The most important, but absolutely. But that doesn't mean that he's the only one you should ignore. Okay, well, you know what? We'll just worry about Trump, and if Senate gets lost, no worries. If the House gets lost, no worries. Who gives a damn?
I will even triple down and say if this election goes the wrong way, the Republic is done. The Senate elections don't matter. Congressional elections are not going to matter. Eric Adams in New York is not going to matter. Nothing on the earth is going to matter more important than this election. I can't stress that any more than I have. And I will continue to stress it until they take me away in a hearse, which will probably happen pretty soon.
Or a straitjacket.
Or a straitjacket, one or the other.
I'll definitely pick one of the two. But anyway, yes, the tip there, her maiden name is Romney.
Well, I mean, look, this Joe Manchin move now with Joe Manchin stepping out of the Senate. You mentioned the Senate, very popular organization, has a lot of people do absolutely nothing all day.
Sure.
I think there's 100 of them to combine. So Joe Manchin is apparently now going to seek or put out a feeler for the presidential nomination from, I assume, some independent party. He is saying that he's not going to rerun for Senate and that he's not leaving public life. So it leaves very little wiggle room. They opened up a federal election commission donation situation today, filed for it with Mitt Romney. So it's Romney and Manchin have teamed up. I don't know if you heard this today. They opened up Federal Election Commission documents to receive donations for an exploratory presidential run as a team. It says Romney Manchin. So that may be the oddest, strangest bedfellows in politics in months, story-wise. I don't know where this is going. It just broke this morning. Somebody sent me the documents of their filing, and it says Romney Manchin. So you mentioned her as a Romney. I'm mentioning Mitt Romney, who also said, famously, I'm not running for the Senate again. Nobody's connected these two dots. These people are teaming up in some sort of rhino demo combo cross-party thing that we're going to hear about this week.
I wonder if he's hitting the was it Evan McMullen role or whatever.
I don't know if it's Evan McMullen or Egg McMuffin.
Yeah, that dude.
I don't know who it is, but the document is real, and they filed something together, Romney and Manchin. So this could get a little weird with hundreds of people running for the presidency, with Manchin and Jill Stein again, as you pointed out, for the Green Party, Cornel West as opposed to Cornel East, his evil doppelganger brother who's white. Then you've got RFK Jr., obviously, whose entire campaign quit this week over Israel. There's a lot of activity, Eric.
Yeah, and I'm confused too. Like, I still don't know who the libertarian is out of this lot. I don't know if that was going to be. That could be the Romney Manchin way. That could be a way for them to thread the needle.
Right.
I don't think they're going to resurrect Gary Johnson.
There seems to be another organization that they're part of. Let me see if I can find this thing here. There is that it up there? Hold on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, the no label scam. That might be it. No labels?
No labels. That's what I was looking for. No labels. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Somebody in the chat just said that, part of the no labels scam.
It's a filing FEC 173-4870 this morning, draft Romney Manchin Committee, 80 Broad Street out of Boston, Massachusetts, 11/8/2023 FEC committee number. It's custodian of records, Philip Swain. I presume he's part of that organization. Whether this goes anywhere, I don't know. What my point is that the field is getting crowded. because of the feebleness of the man on the top who can't even put on a sweater. A lot of people smell blood in the water, and they're thinking now's the time, to get involved in this thing and have multiple campaign operations going.
But that man disagrees with you. Just listen.
Why do you think it is that you're trailing Trump in all these swing state polls?
Because you don't read the polls out. There are 10 polls. 8 of them I'm beating him in those states. 8 of them. You guys only do 2. CNN and New York Times. Check it out. Check it out. We'll get you a copy of all those polls.
You don't believe you're trailing in battleground states?
No, I don't.
So there you go.
Okay. It's amazing how close these people are to this Gomper. He's got his hand on Peter Doocy's shoulder. Yep. I mean, Doocy's microphone could be one of the old exploding Soviet torpedo microphones that could blow his head off. Who knows? It's astounding how close they are to the president of the United States. Is it me, or does that look insane?
Yeah, I know. I agree. It's close. And why is he touching a reporter? Anyway, yeah, it's
right.
Very weird.
What if he shoves the reporter? Part of the dementia, and there's some PSA that has been running on TV, having nothing to do with him, but it does. There's a PSA running, and it says with dementia and Alzheimer's, older people will start, barking loudly and yelling at their relative.
Rage. But
it's sporadic. It could come for no reason. And we're watching this thing last night, this PSA, and we look at each other going, that's Joe Biden. That's what's happening. He starts barking all of a sudden, and nobody knows what he's barking about, Eric.
Yeah, no, they've said that for a while. But yeah, there's also a thing, I think they call it sundowners. Like the time of day is very relevant. Like you're not going to see, I believe it's like right around dusk is some of the worst times for them.
What?
And just think about how often you see him at dusk.
I don't see him at dusk. I don't know. When does he come out?
Well, he does come out in the daylight. So that's one thing. He's not quite a vampire. But
there was a very funny clip of what's his name, the comedian that had Robert Kennedy on last week.
Theo Von.
Theo Von, yeah, and he was talking about watching Biden on a bicycle. He's going, get that man off a bicycle. He should not be on a bicycle. And just a very little funny clip by Von. The only thing that's ever made me laugh by him, but this was funny.
Yeah, well, it's a sad day in journalism, Mark.
Why?
A very famous, popular feminist publication, I'm afraid, is shutting down.
Wait, was that ever in print, Jezebel, or was it just a website?
I think it might have always been a website.
Right. It's not like Ms. Magazine, but it's been around. Isn't it African American or?
No, it's feminist.
Okay.
So it's, the standard trope, all men are evil for 16 years. And I feel terrible to know that I won't have to, I have one fewer sources of how bad I am.
That's interesting.
It's a shame.
Right. I didn't really look at it that much, but.
No, it's garbage.
I didn't really look at it that much, but apparently other people didn't either. That's why they're pulling the plug on this thing. If you have to pull a plug on a website, that's a dark time economically. You know what I mean? Like if you can't keep a website going, like, okay, so you got 25 people. You got to go. We can't do it anymore. But the one person like Elon Musk, when he went in to Twitter and fired 9 million people and the thing was still running, shows you that these are basically glorified NGOs.
Oh, yeah, they are. And the funny thing, too, is everybody is criticized. When I say everybody, I mean the press, because they're wanting Elon to fail so badly with Twitter that, yeah, he cut such a massive amount of his staff. And according to Isaacson, his biographer, he believes in cutting 20% too deep. As soon as that's, I guess, his philosophy. It's like he's going to cut so deep that he's going to be understaffed by 20%. Then he'll go hire people again to make up the difference. It's kind of his way of equilibrium.
It's not a bad idea. Unless you're flying an airplane and you got to have people up in the air. Sitting at a computer, okay, what's going to go wrong? You just hire them back. You just go, you know what? We're temporarily, which companies do, they temporarily lay off people and then bring them back. I think that's
furloughs and things like that.
Furloughs a good word too. Unless you're a pilot, and then they said we have to hire women and minorities to be pilots literally overnight, and it takes years and years to be a pilot. So you have a gap in pilots.
Yeah, well, I mean that's an obvious problem, but at the same time that they're criticizing Elon Musk about all that, quietly, all the other Silicon Valley companies are following his lead and sacking people and getting rid of the lunches, doing that crap. Yeah, no, he's actually leading the way, and then the rest are like, yeah, he's evil, and then they're going, get rid of these people, get rid.
Right. Well, they have these, gyms and lunches in there, and all kinds of crazy things going on inside the place. I mean, somebody put up a video this year of her day at Facebook, and she didn't even know what she was supposed to do. She went from one cafeteria to the gym to a thing with a microwave, and then she was sitting around. I didn't even know what her job was.
Yeah, I don't know, but hey, turns out that actors have work now.
Well, I mean, they have to ratify this. So I know it says strike over, and they probably will ratify, but you don't know until the ratification comes, because this is one nutty union. The nanny who brokered this deal with the lawyers now, I mean, I think that they probably just threw down their tools and said, we surrender, the actors.
That's the vibe that I got.
Yeah.
That they got nothing, because they didn't advertise what they won. They didn't advertise.
Well, okay, right. That's what I was getting at, because you don't normally advertise that, because you first have to sell it to the rank and file. So they traditionally shut up in this little window, of making a deal, because now these psychos who are the Screen Actors Guild members who pay dues but are 95% unemployed at any given time of the year now have to ratify a deal that is never going to affect them one way or another. And historically, there have been times when this has not happened. So that's why I mentioned that, because they have to now sell it to their own membership, is the point I'm trying to make. It's not a fait accompli.
And by the way, the unemployment rate too is, I think, absolutely unique to the Screen Actors Guild. Almost every other union out there has a very high employee percentage rate, and that's part 95. Of the union.
Yeah,
it's almost the reverse. I would say that the Screen Actors Guild is probably taking the typical union employment matrix and flipping it upside down. So instead of
it's a socialist matrix, because the people at top, there's multiple vice presidents making $300,000 to $500,000 a year. And when 95% of your union is unemployed, that's fairly hard to justify those insane salaries. I mean, the nanny, I think, makes $300,000 a year, just as a glorified vice president or president, whatever her title is, of the Screen Actors Guild. I mean, it is a elite versus complete impoverished peasants union. I mean, with 95% unemployment and the top people making $300,000 to $500,000 a year in they're glorified positions. They sit there at SAG headquarters doing nothing most of the year, And I'll tell you something else: the length of the contract is indicative of them surrendering. It's only 36 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So this will be back, and it's going to be AI that's going to drive the crazy train, because they didn't buckle on AI, the studios, and I think the union just said, fuck it. What are we going to do? Let's just punt down the field, buy ourselves 36 months, and come back and hammer this out in 36 months.
Yeah, it could be. I don't see where they're going to win ultimately.
Well, if they put out movies like Marvel's, the unsuccessful dude, I mean, this thing, it may be the biggest nightmare for Marvel Universe in history. With some woman that's supposed to play Amaryllis Fox as the star Marvel lady, and she's got very strange feet. Apparently, people are obsessed with her feet out here, Eric, the star of this movie.
I was wondering, that is not...
That's the good foot. They're not. Yeah. You're not seeing the other foot. Where do you see the other foot? It's just crazy, and the obsession with it is off the charts. If you go to, one of those websites, that they talk about weird shit. What's the name of that website? Reddit.
Oh, Reddit. Oh God.
Yeah, no. There's whole things on Reddit just about her feet.
So you could go check out Hilaria Baldwin's moon bump and her feet. And you know who's got to be happy about this deal, though?
What?
Uma Thurman.
Right. Now, Uma Thurman famously, had very strange feet, also had very big thumbs, and also her father took his eye out while on acid with Timothy Leary, because I lived in Woodstock at the time. Her father was a Buddhist monk who lived in Woodstock, and while tripping with Timothy Leary, removed his own eye. And Leary tried to push it back in. He tried to push it back in, and he wore, I think his name was John Thurman. He wore an eye patch the rest of his life as a Buddhist monk after that incident. So that's her dad.
Well, then.
And she grew up in Woodstock, too. I used to see her on the street before she was that famous, rolling around town. But he famously took his own eye out while tripping with Timothy Leary. And you could look that up in your acid Google world, you people in the comment section.
Wow. Okay. And from my understanding, that was Quentin Tarantino's big attraction to her.
Right. But that, I think that's why what's her name is going to be in the next Tarantino movie after this feat, because he, as many people know, he's a foot fetishist. And after seeing her feet, he's probably going to cast her in a movie immediately.
Oh, for sure. But now, yeah, this one, I'm not sure who is more obnoxious, her or the one who's playing Snow White, but she is like box office poison, I think, anymore.
Well, I mean, she was supposed to portray Amaryllis Fox. This is how we got into this story.
Yeah.
In the TV deal where she purchased Fox's book. And that never came to fruition. So who knows? Maybe it was a feat. They couldn't match the feat.
I don't know. But I hope she doesn't annoy her assistant, because it appears that's a bad move. This was a surprise.
Yes, it was. Absolutely was. One of the best things in the lawsuit was when she took the stand. This is his assistant,
Robert De Niro. Yeah,
Robert De Niro's assistant was. I'm just looking up this Marvel's numbers that are coming out today. It's really going bad.
6.5 million. Day one.
This is really a dark day for Marvels.
That's why Disney's in trouble, because I brought Snow White for a reason too. They're both Disney. Disney's Marvel, Disney's Snow White. Disney's got kicked in the nuts with the South Park episode, the Kathleen Kennedy thing. That was great.
Well, I'm saying, Brie Larson is not Matt Damon. I mean, no. And he's not, James. She's not James Bond. But in this case, Robert De Niro, one of the charges against him by Chase Robinson, who was with him a number of years, she just said he was a total creep and called her a bitch a number of times. But the weirdest part was he forced her to scratch his back over and over and over again with her fingernails and taking his shirt off. And she begged him, there are back scratchers you could buy, sir. And he says, no, I prefer it when you do it with your nails on my back. So here he is at work. She's in an office and she's forced to scratch his back with her own fingernails. And she said it was disgusting. It completely humiliated her, completely freaked her out. And I'm only saying this because this is the most liberal guy of the left. This is the number one attacker on the presumed sexual predilections of Donald Trump. This is the guy who was a coprophagist who had his ex-wife do things onto his chest that were reported in the divorce settlement public documents that she filed about his bizarre sexual predilections. But he is the number one attacker of Donald Trump. It's always confession through projection, right, Eric? What a sick fuck this guy is. It's astounding. That being said, very good actor, and I recommended The Good Shepherd. I recommend we played William Donovan, The Good Shepherd, in last week's episode. So I still recommend the movie. But
the Italian Irishman. Anyway, didn't he play the Irishman too?
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, okay, De Niro likes to play Irish, I guess.
Well, he played a Jew in Casino, the owner of the casino, the front guy. I
Yeah, but
mean,
Adam Carolla says that Italians are just good-looking Jews.
well, you as one woman once told me, you have sex with Tony, but you marry Bernie.
Okay. Okay. So he's not that far off.
If you understand what I'm saying.
He always cracked me up too, because he would say people never confused him for being Jewish when he was working the construction sites.
Who, Corolla?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh yeah. Because everybody can.
Well, look at this guy. Mark Garagos. Nobody knows what he is. Mark Garagos. He's
Armenian.
Right, but he posed as a Jew. He said unless he was confronted by somebody really hard, he would just let them assume you were Jewish, which we've seen in episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm, where Larry has what he believes is a Jewish attorney, and then we had Seinfeld, also with Larry David creation, where his dentist was supposedly Jewish but wasn't either, and it happened to me too. I had a guy named Marty Schwartz who was my dentist, and he tells me this whole long story about his father dying, and they bury his father at this Jewish cemetery, and then the mother eventually dies, and it turns out she can't be buried at the Jewish cemetery because she made believe she was a Jew all these years to get out of Hungary, and that she wasn't Jewish. So I said to him at the end of this story, I said, that means you're not Jewish. And he said, oh, I guess not. And I said, well, that means you're not a Jewish dentist. And he says, well, I guess not. And I slowly took off the apron, got up and left. That was the end of me and Marty Schwartz. And I said, I signed up for a Jewish dentist, Marty. You're a nice guy, but I'm out of here. That's a true story. That's a true story.
Crack me up. All right. Let me get some. UPenn, Connecticut gifted 10 memberships on YouTube to people. So thank you.
Wow.
And thank goodness StreamYard is now letting me see people doing this. Before I would have to look at the
how
chat.
much is a membership on YouTube? I thought it was free.
$5 a month. You can subscribe for free. Just subscribe. But they have memberships where people, can just support the show by giving $5 a month or whatever. Just
You mean like with locals, like the same thing?
Yeah, I actually recommend that people don't do the YouTube one and do the locals one, because you get a lot more value out of locals, in my opinion. But
okay, all right.
I appreciate any and all support. Some people, like to support through YouTube. Some people like to support through Rumble. Hey,
I would support our local sheriffs based on what I saw on Monday.
Yeah, there's a problem with the LA Sheriff's Office. You sent me a story, and I'm starting to hear murmurs everywhere. We have to be very careful about how we.
It's really careful. 4 independent deputy sheriffs took their own lives on Monday, having no connection to each other. This situation has been exacerbated now for the past year because of 1,500 of them being fired when they defunded the police. And all of the overtime is now being dumped. Something like 40 hours a week is now being put onto their 40-hour week to make up for it. These guys are working 80 hours a week, and 4 of them separate, don't even know each other. In the 4 deputy sheriffs took their own lives on Monday in one day alone. This is an insane, incredible situation that's out of control. It's being covered by a lot of news sources. This guy here got some anthrax in the mail. I don't know what his problem is, but there's the headline there. It's one of the strangest stories of the year, and the numbers are off the charts. The numbers are just, and this is what happens, folks, when you defund the police. This is what happens. They don't go away. They just have to do the work of the guys who are fired and with special rules, especially the crazy crap that goes on out here. There was a great TikTok video we watched last night of cops pulling over a drunken, non-binary woman, and they were so super polite to her, Eric. She's in the car, and the guy says, do you know you're driving the wrong way on the freeway? And she says, well, I tried to turn around, but it was too late, and I figured I'd just go to the next exit. And he's going, that's really nice. It's really interesting. And she says, well, I'm an indigenous person and I'm a non-binary. And he says, that's really interesting. You're going to have to step out of the car. And she says, I'd rather not. He goes, well, we're kind of way past that now. The guy is so super polite. It's unbelievable how polite this guy is. And it's all shot from the body cam. And she gets out and he does a field sobriety test. She's clearly drunk. He smells alcohol on her. He's super nice about it. And she says, you know, I'm an indigenous person. You're triggering my PTSD. I don't like being around white people. She's white, by the way. And he goes, I understand that, ma'am. And she says, please don't call me ma'am. I'm non-binary. And he's going, okay, what should I call you? She says, my name is Hike. And he goes, okay, Hike. Please, you know, touch your nose and do that. And she says, you're scaring me. I can't do it. He's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. Eventually, it becomes apparent that he's going to have to arrest her. And she starts freaking out that he has to cuff her and take her away. And he's going, please don't resist arrest. Please don't resist arrest. Please don't resist her. And she's just a psycho, just a drunken psycho, non-binary, indigenous driver going the wrong way, drunk. And he's politely listening to all of her mishigas about whatever her crazy pronouns and everything else, having nothing to do with drunk driving.
Yep. How would you like that job?
That's what I'm saying. I would snap in 5 seconds. I would have been punching her in the face in 5 seconds. I couldn't do that job. But these guys are now doing it under duress, Eric.
Yeah. And I mean, but those things make it more of a duress because one, it's very rare to see people that have that kind of temperament to where, you know, where he can just sit there and go, okay. You know, this is like a brilliant customer service manager. Yeah. Okay, what's your name?
Yeah.
It's very, and then when you add the added stress of this person could have a weapon, this person could attack me, or now, you know, this person will claim that the cop did something. So thank God he's got the camera. So
the body cams helps them. Yeah, the body cam helps them more than the other way around.
Yeah,
you know,
helps everybody. It's like
millions and millions and millions of arrests are made every year in this country by law enforcement. The amount of ones that go south are such a tiny, tiny percentage. You know, like 0.0001 goes south. And those are the ones that they somehow get the body cams that are leaked, and then it ends up on MSNBC. And the storyline is spun by somebody in the back room with a degree in Marxism, who spins it as quickly as humanly possible before anybody could look at the story. So, by the way, they have a policy here in LA. The LAPD has a policy. If you're a politician and you're pulled over for drunk driving, they don't do a field sobriety test. They take you to a special room at LAPD headquarters, giving you a million hours to sober up, so your career is not destroyed by people videotaping you on the street. And people are just finding this out, that this is an LAPD policy, Eric, because this woman, Korea, who's running for city council, got pulled over completely drunk out of her mind the other night. She claimed she lost control of her vehicle because of a sneezing fit. And she was twice the legal limit. But LAPD took her to a special room and tested her, and their feeling is that your political career could be ruined if you're seen on video. Your political enemies could use the video against you. Like, this is a reason for LAPD to be concerned. You know what I mean? Like, it's just an astounding admission.
Somehow, I don't think it's going to be every politician they're concerned about their career.
Well, that's the policy. I don't know. You know, the policy has apparently been in place for years.
I mean, if they're consistent with it.
Yeah, no, they've been consistently taking them to these rooms at police headquarters. They don't want to do field sobriety tests for the elite. Well, they do. It's not celebrities, because they'll take a Mel Gibson and put him on the road and have him yell all kinds of stuff. So it's not about celebrity. It's only politicians that they do this for. And people who are experts in this feel that they could then tap into these politicians when budget time comes around.
Oh, yeah.
Not to be confused with a politician in New York who recently had his phone seized by the FBI, Eric, as you just sent me. We've been covering this for a couple of weeks, Eric and I, because you could smell there's blood in the water on this story, and now there's more to it, Eric.
Oh yeah. The bottom line of this story, if I recall, is don't criticize the big guy's immigration policy. The second you do that, you're going down.
Or dip your thumb into the water or toe into the water to run for the Democratic nomination, which is what he did. I mean, this may be Kamala Harris saying, you know, I'm the big Negro in this administration. Get out. Because there was scuttlebutt that it came from her when he originally went down to the border in the summer. There was scuttlebutt that Harris was the one who was on him. And this may be coming out of her department, Eric, is all I'm saying.
Could be, but timing, either way it goes.
Just to refresh for the audience, his chief of staff fundraiser had her home raided by the FBI while he went down to meet Joe Biden in the Oval Office to get money for the millions of Africans that are running loose through the city of New York, so he can deal with them with a bunch of other mayors. And as he was about to enter the Oval Office, he got a call on the phone to return immediately that his chief of staff's office was being raided. Okay. He goes back. I've seen a couple of local interviews out of New York from local guys that I respect interviewing him. And he's apparently got a connection to the government of Turkey. And the government of Turkey has construction concerns in New York. And he's been getting bribes from the government of Turkey for a number of years and donations, quote unquote, to his campaign from Turkey. So people are like freaking out, going like, what does Turkey have to do with New York? So he goes in this interview that I watched and he says, well, we have a large Turkish population, second only to New Jersey, which I had no idea that there were so many Turks in New York, second to New Jersey. I had no idea how. And here's the twist. When he was in Turkey, visiting Turkey, as every New York mayor does, he was in a sitcom playing a mayor being bribed by Turkish officials. Did you know that?
No.
Thank you. I'm calling him the Black Zelensky. He apparently gets involved in a sitcom like Zelensky was, and the theme of the sitcom episode, sketch comedy, was a mayor being bribed by Turkish officials, which is a custom in Turkey. It's, you know, that's the way they roll. And I thought, well, this is a little weird. You know, I mean, I've seen some strange things in New York in my day. I've never seen this before. And now today, the FBI has seized the phones and electronics of the mayor of New York. So I think his career may be coming to an abrupt end.
Isn't this his first year in office?
Yeah. Not only that, even Charlemagne the God has turned on him, and he's known proudly known as the party mayor. He goes out every single night to party for free in these different nightclubs, wearing like sequined sports jackets with diamonds on the back. They say like the mayor and Adams and all this stuff on the back of his jackets. I mean, this is just crazy, crazy stuff where it's so over the top that, you know, people are going, it can't be this obvious. And of course, it is that obvious that he's a corrupt party animal and he's about to be taken down. The city is completely, running on fumes. It's out of control. He obviously didn't have the skill to do this. I had some high hopes for him originally because he had been
a cop. Yeah.
He'd been a police officer and a borough president. So I thought possibly that he could do it. But he quickly got woke and he quickly went crazy with power and partying. With multiple different women. This woman who was arrested, a 25-year-old girl, literally, who graduated from a local college with a degree in science. You know, why you need that for fundraising and why you need a 25-year-old to do it is, of course, bizarre. So Adams' career may be coming to an abrupt end. Now, out here, we had a guy named Garcetti who had a staff of gay men who were sexualizing the bodyguards from LAPD. One guy named Garza, who was his bodyguard, LAPD, who turned around and sued this guy, Jacobs, who was the chief of staff for Garcetti when he was mayor. They held this lawsuit. They held it for over nearly 2.5 years until Garcetti got the hell out of the country and finally got the Indian ambassador job that was put on ice by Republican senatorial people who said that he lied under oath, which was true. He lied about this case under oath. He knew about it. He condoned it. He was told repeatedly that these people were being sexually abused by the gay chief of staff, Rick Jacobs. And Rick Jacobs still around in LA politics. The lawsuit is going to be paid out by the city council. It's over $2 million. But the rub is Garza, who's going to get the money. The rub is that the clock was running on the lawyers for 2.5 years of them delaying until Garcetti got the job as ambassador to India as to not ruffle his political feathers. And now the LA Times is flying to India and has written a massive puff piece on Garcetti trying to rehabilitate his career in India because of this huge scandal that just broke with a payoff. Never went to trial. But the kicker is the entire time the clock was running on the lawyers, and they were billing the city of Los Angeles the entire time. Now, that is corruption at another level, my friend. That's a great one. And the woman who drove drunk, Korea, she was a shoo-in for the city council, and now she's going to go to jail like the last 5 of them have. You can't get into
How
this
many
city.
do you have total?
5. Now, 5 have gone to prison.
How many are there total?
Oh, I think there's 11 or something.
So we're almost at 50%.
Right, but they're replenishing as they go. I mean, they go into the bullpen and they bring in a new guy, and a lot of them are being ratted out. This is the real twist. They're not being ratted out by the media. The media does nothing. They're being ratted out by far left Marxist organizations who are replacing them with Marxist candidates. They're the ones who are ratting them out. The Marxists. These are just mainstream corrupt Democrats who are middle of the road Dems. And the Marxists have replaced them each time a guy has gone to jail. They've been replaced by a Marxist. And that's how you take over the government of the biggest city in the country. That, my friend, is the real story, not the corruption.
What's really sad is that the corruption was probably preferable to what's taken over.
Right. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yeah.
Because it's like you're going from a corruption to a true believer, and oh God.
Some of them are being entrapped by the Marxists on purpose.
Oh,
They have vowed not to stop until they get a complete Marxist city council.
Well, you're almost there.
I know.
Hold strong. It'll happen, Mark.
Boy, it's so fascinating. I feel like I'm in the middle of 1917 in Moscow. I really feel like this is historical here, and it's spreading throughout the country. Of course, they did get this DA in Baltimore yesterday, so that was at least some feather in the cap of the DOJ under Merrick here, because she was yelling racism since the second it happened. This is the former district attorney, a Soros appointee, found guilty on 2 counts of perjury yesterday in a federal trial, and well-deserved. Well-deserved.
Well, speaking of not releasing things, did you follow this at all about the Covenant School shooter manifesto?
Yeah, roughly. I mean, the chief of police is apparently now 6 or 8 of them have been suspended by this woke black chief of police down there. This is the closest thing I can remember to this story was the chief of police of Atlanta, who falsified the crime statistics in Atlanta in cahoots with real estate brokers to drive down the crime statistics so they could sell more homes in Atlanta. This is not the same story, but similar in terms of black corruption in urban cities in the South.
Yeah, it's completely disturbing. And then, burying that, suppressing that story, and then firing. Again, imagine how those cops feel.
Right. Well,
they're so over it that they're finally saying, just get it out there.
Yeah, traditionally, this has been dealt with by the FBI. And I am encouraged by the FBI going after Adams's phones. I am encouraged that they're going after people in LA. This is what the FBI used to do. especially when there's a Democratic administration and you have a one-party situation. It becomes obviously not a political event when the FBI goes after someone in urban politics as the last resort, especially in one-party cities, which most of them are. The only stopgap method to deal with corruption is the FBI in terms of stopping urban internal corruption. And it's a good sign when they start going after people in democratic cities. I'll tell you that much.
I agree. And, I've interviewed a ton of FBI people. It's a big agency. There are a lot of great agents and, field officers or whatever, special agents in charge of different locations. A lot of them aren't political. That's their whole career.
Right.
And they care about that city. So,
well, they do have to sign off on it. If you're going to go after an Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, I'm assuming somebody in the White House has greenlit that. I don't think Merrick Garland woke up on Monday morning and said, let's take down the mayor of New York. I mean, for the love of God, that has to be approved by somebody.
Well, it wasn't only approved. I'm sure that it was encouraged.
Yeah.
I mean, he overstepped his bounds in their opinion. So I'm more interested in the legitimate investigations, that's legitimate too, but the ones that are happening naturally without a political retribution question being involved.
Well, if he's taking money from the Turkish government running his own foreign policy, I mean,
this is a huge problem.
It's a huge problem. Okay, so there's quite a few pissed off gangsters who are Italian in Staten Island who were supposed to get those contracts. I mean, they kill people for a living to get those contracts, Eric. I mean, they run the cement business. If they start giving this out to Turkey because this guy has bad relations with Italian, contractors, which is probably what's going on, they're not kicking back to him. He probably looked around and said, where can I get kickbacks? And the government of Turkey said, we'll kick back this money. And indeed, they made huge donations above board to his political campaign. I mean, it's insane that a foreign government would be involved in a mayoral, campaign of a major city. I don't know how that's possible, but I guess that's what the FBI wants to get to the bottom of. Now, that being said, Newsom is running around California, and his poll numbers apparently are collapsing. I had no idea. A journalist that I know, Katie Grimes up in Sacramento, put out a story this week showing the collapse. He's down to this guy was coasting at 60% for a long time. He's now down to 41, 42%, might go below 40, down to 38. That's a huge story, Eric, for a guy who believes that he's the president of the United States in waiting.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder if maybe all this extra exposure didn't necessarily work out well. The more people get to know him, the more they realize, we don't like this guy.
Right, which is cool. I mean, he just got back from China, where he kissed the ring of the premier of China, who's now coming here November 14th for 3 days, a whirlwind tour of Chinese to see his different projects, I guess. He's going to see all his police stations. He's coming around to the empire, the outskirts of the empire, the Chinese empire, to see how people are doing. I don't know if he's going to. I assume going to meet with Biden is probably why he's coming here. But it was funny because Newsom was showing his skills. Thanks, Charles. Newsom was showing his skills playing basketball with these Chinese kids. I don't know if you saw the video.
Oh, yeah, he was mugging the one.
Well, he's clearly able to play basketball. I could tell right away that he could play. So, but he's wearing dress shoes. He's wearing slip-on dress shoes. So he starts dribbling, and he dribbles behind the back. I go, that's nice. Look at that. He's going the boy, spinning the ball, and all of a sudden he drives to the hoop and knocks over 5 Chinese kids who were just standing there and trying to guard him. And he fell down on top of the kids. It was a huge embarrassment, Eric, to see the governor of California knocking over 5 little kids while driving to the hoop in China, in this Michael Jordan Newsom thing.
He's a serious competitor.
He's a serious competitor, but keep in mind, Obama used every day at lunch, used to go to FBI headquarters, which I understand is now going to be closed down and building a new FBI headquarters by you.
Which is going to be larger than the Pentagon.
Right. So the FBI had a gym where they played full court, and Obama went every day to play full court with his manservant, Buddy Love. I forget his first name, but his last name was Love. And was it Buddy Love, or maybe someone in the chat remembers? But his manservant used to go and play with him full court against the FBI. And Reggie Love, thank you, because I get confused with a real basketball player. But Reggie Love was his manservant, and him and Reggie Love would go every day. This is how important. He also shut down at 6 o'clock, just like the old man Bush did. But he also would watch ESPN all night, sports. That's how interested he was in the federal government. But somebody gave him a forearm to the face in one of these games, and that guy was never allowed to play ever again. Whoever it was, he fouled Obama, who was driving to the hoop, and he got a forearm in the face, and that guy was banned from playing. I remember that obscure story from
that poor hero.
The poor hero. Yeah, he meant well.
All right, well, let me go through some super chats real quick. I'm finally not late. There's a tip, just the tip.
Kitsman. It's Kitsman.
That's right. I'm not your buddy guy. It's sad seeing people say if Trump's removed from the ballot, I'm voting Vivek, as though they accept others dictating who we can and cannot vote for.
Thank you. I agree. That's insane. That's insane. It's like, if Kershaw can't pitch today, which minor league pitcher would you like to pitch in place of Kershaw? Well, Kershaw's pitching. Okay, well, I'm just throwing that out there in case Kershaw can't pitch. Give me a break.
Yeah. Bernie Borowski, thank you very much. No question. Dick Dickerson, did you guys hear Speaker Johnson say there isn't enough evidence to impeach Biden? Another uniparty POS as speaker.
I didn't see that. I didn't hear it, so I can't really comment on it. It just scares me that the guy's name is Speaker Johnson. I've got PTSD already listening to Speaker Johnson. That's crazy.
Oh, good point. And then Brian D, happy birthday, Marines.
Right on.
And today we're celebrating Veterans Day, or it's being recognized today. It's technically tomorrow. But happy Veterans Day to all you veterans, and happy Veterans Day again tomorrow.
Wait, he's got a question for you.
Eric, you don't get many. When did my Oswald? Okay. When did my Oswald Innocence stands start? Well, pretty much since I was talking to Mark. I never really followed it.
Right. Oh, I remember that. Right. Yeah. Yeah. He kind of learned on the job is the answer to that question.
Yeah. I had no opinions. I just knew that it was very controversial. And I watched JFK a long time ago. And it's like, seems like it could be interesting. But
how long would it take us to convince Ben Shapiro that he didn't do the shooting? I mean, at what point does Ben Shapiro wake up and just go, "Hey, it's a great day. I'm glad Oswald did the shooting." I mean, as we approach the 60th anniversary,
I don't know. I part of the problem, and you and I have discussed that, is I think that the RFK assassination is so much easier to encapsulate in just that period. It's like the bullets are the wrong direction. It's the house. It's the room. I mean, it's like you could sum it all up in one interview, 1 hour show anywhere.
Well, I could do it too. I mean, I could show you the boxes in the 6th floor depository being rearranged by Dallas PD with their own photos. I could do that, and I could show you the phony Oswald down at the embassy in Mexico City and the J. Edgar Hoover tape saying it's a phony Oswald, and I'm done. I don't even need the magic bullet. I could slice this thing
the
up.
wallets and the
No, but that's really getting into the weeds. I could slice this up in 5 seconds with just the photos of the boxes in the sniper's nest by Dallas PD, arranging the boxes and taking photos, and then the phony Oswald photos down at the Russian embassy in Mexico City. I mean, if you just take those two items, you can pretty well dismantle the assassination folklore of Oswald acting alone.
Maybe that should be a specific thing, though. I mean, that might be a good thing to get out there. A nice truncated.
Right. No, I mean, I've talked about it repeatedly. I mean, but if I had my back against the wall and I had to just quickly explain the assassination to some knucklehead like Ben Shapiro, I would just use those two things, very quickly. I could go on for days with 900 other things that are of equal importance. But these are over the years of talking about this, I've come to the conclusion that these are the two easiest talking points to dismantle the assassination. Obviously, the magic bullet, going through 90 people, coming out the other end, having a sandwich in the Bronx, and then going back into Connolly's left leg is also insane. But there's people that don't care about that. They just go, "Wow, it's ballistics. That's that's a weird
You
science."
never know where a bullet goes. If the trajectories, things happen, and the body will cause issues, and da 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 da. Yeah,
right. But I mean, these other things that we have discussed on the show, showing the photos of the boxes and showing the photos of the phony Oswald, who may have been a friend of Malcolm Wallace, and the fingerprints of Malcolm Wallace up in the school book depository, and some of the other things. They're so easily, the Dallas police going over to Oswald's corpse and putting the fingerprints on when the gun comes back clean from D.C., from Quantico, Virginia, by the FBI lab, saying there's no prints on there. The files that the FBI took, the interview that they took of Fraser's mother, saying Oswald had nothing in his hands the morning that her son gave him the ride to work. And then the foreman on the other end on the loading dock saying Oswald entered the school book depository empty-handed when he came out of Fraser's car. Those are FBI 201 statements. I didn't make those up. They're not in rush to judgment. Those are interviews by FBI agents who didn't have a dog in the hunt at that point.
yeah, all true. And I mean, I guess that's why I was thinking is there's just so much of it. It's like a voluminous amount of information.
Yeah. I'm just talking about the greatest hits. Yeah, I'm just picking the greatest hits album, of how to dismantle this. If ever, not that I want to, like I've said a million times, our job is not to debate Holocaust deniers on this show, go backwards 35 years and go, "Hey, by the way, I don't believe anything you told me. Would you mind debating me? I've read one book and I'd like you to debate me."
I want your sources too, please.
Right. That's not our job. That's not our job. Nobody went to Jonas Salk when he was trying to find the cure for polio going, "Hey, can you explain how an airplane flies?" He goes, "Well, I'm busy with trying to find the cure to polio. What do you bother me how an airplane flies?" "Yes, I know how an airplane flies." "Well, I'd like you to stop working on the cure for polio to explain to me, a complete retard, how an airplane flies." Give me a break.
Yeah, I totally agree. Pasha saying Disney has obviously lost their marbles.
Wait a second. Is that from the pun division in back of his house?
I think it might be.
There's like a laboratory in back of his house, he showed me once, where puns come in and puns come out. They go in kind of half formed, and then they come out with the incredible veracity of that statement.
Is it like a pun stream where it's like a rock that just kind of rolled in the water until it's smoothed out?
No, it's simply a pun house. It's a scary pun house that puns go in and scary puns come out. The Pasha Moyer pun house.
All right. Thomas Kiefaber said Dr. Tim was married at Millbrook to Uma's mother, and they went to India for their honeymoon.
I know, right. And maybe if they stayed, they would have met Garcetti, who's now the ambassador to India, who barely got the nomination. It was held up by Grassley. Grassley? Yeah, it was held up by Grassley for almost 2 years. And he was never recalled. Never took the nomination out. They just stuck with letting him twist in the wind. He wanted to get the hell out of the United States so badly, Garcetti, because it was like the mayor of New York who took the ambassadorship 1950 to Mexico because he was about to be indicted in New York City, which we covered in another episode about New York.
Mm-hmm. Well, we did a parallel episode. We did the mayors.
The mayors, yeah, it's in the mayors episode. Yes.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
It's a couple years old.
Dude, I can't remember what episodes we did because these stories are just one big story in my head. But you're right. We did an episode on the mayors, and it's in there. And we mentioned Garcetti, right, at that time?
Yeah, it was you drew a parallel between Garcetti and the New York mayor.
Right, from 1948, 1950, yeah.
Exactly. So it was just kind of like parallel stories then and now, like we do all the time. But yeah, it gets confusing because a lot of times we talk about stuff on Freeform Friday that's not necessarily an episode, but that actually was an episode. Check it out, everybody. I'll try to remember to put a link.
Lord Battenhausen.
Yep. It's atrocious that our tax dollars are being spent on pronouns when mental health, addiction services, and bad things are ignored.
Took their lives or ignored. My new phrase, took their own lives. TTOL.
Yeah, TTOL, even better.
TTOL.
And Leo Battenhausen actually wrote a book called Socialicide. And it is essentially the premise is that narcissism is kind of being trained into America. Like the whole society is getting more and more narcissistic and loving itself to death. It reminds me of Dr. Drew's book, The Mirror Effect, which I think he should follow
No,
up
I think
on.
it's called the Cracked Mirror.
I thought it was The Mirror Effect, but okay.
No, I think it's Cracked Mirror. It's correct. His first book.
Yeah, it was in 2009 and good book.
Yeah.
Love to see him.
Is it called Cracked Mirror or no?
I'm pretty sure not. I'm looking.
I'm pretty sure not. Tough guy, man.
Yeah.
Take away your Google, no more tough guy.
Well, hey, let me see. Mirror Effect: How Celebrity Narcissism is Seducing America.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a good book.
Absolutely. Tell them to follow up on it. We need part 2. Lots happened since that came out. Repost. DNC chair attacked by media that made some important decisions. How can we forget Donna Brazile?
Yeah, because she ended up working on Fox immediately after being involved with the giving the questions to the debates to, I guess, to Hillary Clinton at that point. And she did her job and she got out and she went and got a multi-million-dollar contract from Rupert Murdoch. Little tip of the hat for Murdoch, I guess.
Yeah, she got her reward. And happy birthday to the Marines again.
And there was a very famous Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald who we're going to be covering in the next couple of days. So there's another Marine that should be honored at the same time.
A week from tomorrow, his name may come up.
What? What are you trying to say, Hunley?
A week from tomorrow. We are going to be in Dallas next week.
Well, you can't say that Dallas doesn't love you, Hunley.
I can. I don't know if it'd be accurate, but I can always say it. All right, so let's get into some happy news here. This one is kind of weird. I figure that you must know something about the family or some reason.
Yeah, the Haskell family. This was Haskell III. I think Haskell II. At one point was the head of William Morris, a talent agency, but then became the head of his own production company. Movie-wise, and I very well-liked father. The father is a real straight-edge, normal guy. I don't know how this kid went off the rails. He married a Chinese chick, and then he killed the girl. It says her name, but her name is really like Wang or something. And then he killed her parents, who were 2 Chinese nationals. This is crystal meth. This is what this is. This is what happens when you abuse crystal meth.
My Haskell, I guess.
Right, but her real name is whatever the name of her parents.
Yeah, Wang.
Wang? I just made that up. Is that true?
Wang or Wong, yeah.
Oh, really? I was just grabbing that generic name. Okay. Anyway, this is another kid like Tom Hanks's kid who also went crazy yesterday. Didn't kill anybody, but he has almost killed a number of people. Tom Hanks has one bad seed kid. There was a home invasion into his house. The police showed up so quickly. I don't know how the cops got there. Maybe because it was Tom Hanks' kid. Home invasion, and the cops show up. And as they're cuffing the home invader, who I think was a homeless guy, he winds up and punches the guy in the face as hard as he can. The guy, the perp, falls over and breaks the cop's leg, who's handcuffing him.
What?
No. That's what I'm telling you, these stories, Hunley. The kid has been arrested a number of times. The Tom Hanks kid, right? And he's a bad seed.
Yeah, Chet.
Yeah, but there's another good one who used to be a musician who was the good thing. This is Chet. Yeah, Chet's the crazy one. Tom Hanks. Yeah,
Chet's the wannabe hip hop guy, if I recall.
He's a rapper. Yeah, he's a wigger. Tom is probably very embarrassed about him, this cultural appropriation and everything else. But yeah, the kid was not arrested. The cop broke his leg, and I don't know what happened to the perp, who was just, I think, a homeless guy coming into his house.
Jeez.
But the point is, that's what's happening out here every day and every night now. These homeless zombies, you could go into your kitchen and he's making a chopped liver sandwich at 2:00 in the morning, because, it's easy to get into these homes out here. In New York, you're in an apartment building. You know what I mean? Here, you're on the street level of a one-story house, wherever it is, unless they don't even have gated communities out here like, like Viva lives in Boca with a gatehouse. They don't have that here. I mean, there's, a couple like Brentwood has it, but it's very rare out in LA. So these homes are quite vulnerable. And you can't just blast the guy to smithereens because there's a debate whether, it's you're the king of your castle out here.
Wow.
Yeah, I once asked cops that, and the two cops started arguing. I said, "Can I blow the guy away if he comes in?" One cop said yes, the other one said no. And they said they both agreed at the end of the debate the three of us had. It's up to the DA.
Well, there are different laws, and Andrew, Bronca, of law of self-defense. That's his, bailiwick, so to speak. So there are different questions. Like, I don't know if you have a castle doctrine in California.
Oh no, they have it. They do. They do have
Okay.
one. Yeah, it's been on the books for years. But again, it comes down to the district attorney, is what they told me, whether he's going to press charges or not, like everything else out here or anywhere else. That's why they put these. That's what was the brilliance of George Soros, was to see yet another Achilles weakness in our system and to exploit it.
You know what, though? I was just talking to Nate, the lawyer, about that recently. George Soros's move was in response to the Koch brothers, because the Koch brothers, they had put their funding all into state assembly members and state senators, and managed to get a lot of the red over. So Soros is going, okay, well, they've already got a lock on that. They flipped a lot to red. So I'm going to pay off the people. If nobody will enforce the laws, who cares if there's a law?
Well, but as we pointed out 2 weeks ago on the show, his first money through the Open Society was to Nadelman for drug legalization. That was his first money spent in the United States. And that process has really brought home a lot of social revenue for him. The complete destruction of the American society from drugs, this ending of the war on drugs that people said was unsuccessful. And when I say to them, this is better now that you look at San Francisco and you look at Portland, this is much better than the war on drugs. And they just go, well, I like to smoke pot, is their answer. It comes back to them personally. It's their own personal war that they wanted to end so they could drive around themselves. And when I point out that, look what we have now that the war of drugs on drugs is over, they just shrug their shoulders. They don't have an answer. There's no answer.
Yeah, I have a question on that. And I don't know if I am right or wrong. It's a legitimate question. It's just that, do you think that the availability of Narcan has enabled people to take more chances than they would have?
Narcan is not that available. At first, it was over the counter. Then they took it back from over the counter, said, yeah, I have to have a prescription. And then recently, it's gone back over the counter. Nobody's running around with Narcan. It took me a while to convince a church in the area here that had a lot of activity to get Narcan. And it's like pulling teeth to get people to understand how to use it. And when you use Narcan on someone, they're more than likely to come out of that knot and punch you in the face for ruining their high. So it's not the most pleasant situation using Narcan. EMS guys use Narcan, and it's very successful, as preventing overdoses. But it's such a thin line, Eric, time-wise, between someone ODing and dying and the use of Narcan. There's a small window there. I carry it around because who knows? I've run into people before. But I don't think that's really the problem. I mean, now the amount of the wide open border in the South, the fentanyl being shipped from China to the Mexican drug cartels, this is a whole new ballgame. And the war on drugs is long over, my friends. There's 72 people who were in federal prison for possession. And that, as Eric pointed out, was a plea deal talking down from trafficking. So all of this bullshit that Nadelman started and Normal started about you being able to smoke a joint in a Cheech and Chong movie, we're way past that at this point.
Well, it's not the same weed as Cheech and Chong either, and that's part of the issue, right?
But it's not weed anymore. This pilot tried to open the door on a plane the other day while it was in air flying on magic mushrooms. Yep. And now they're going to legalize magic mushrooms. Sure, they should, because I use magic mushrooms, Mark. They should legalize every drug because I personally like them. And there's no reference to the entire culture. Nobody can imagine the entire cultural effect of any personal law. It's always about them. I like to do fill in the blank, so it should be for everyone. There's no conception that it could be damaging, that 14-year-olds can get their hands on it, that vape pens filled with THC could be damaging, that dabbing could be damaging, that schizophrenics taking acid could be damaging. Nobody gives a shit except what they want to do. And the national policies should reflect their desire to have a particular flavor of ice cream that's available to them 24/7. And it's just selfishness on steroids.
Yeah. Gregory DeFeo, Ron's relative.
Ron's brother.
He's given us super chats before. Mark, do you think Congress voting to knock down the Secretary of Transportation salary to just $1 a year is justified?
I don't know. What's his salary? It's a cabinet level position. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever the cabinet. I mean, Trump didn't donated his salary away, so did JFK. But I mean, Buttigieg. I mean, he's a mother. He took a pregnancy leave. What's it called?
Patrimony. Well, no, paternity leave.
But he took maternity leave.
Well, they do it for both. It's like,
okay.
Yeah. I mean.
But I'm saying I don't know. He's a wealthy guy, is all I'm saying. I don't know where he gets his money.
No, he was like a mayor. I don't know that mayors get that much unless he had family money. So you never know on that.
Right. I don't think he's corrupt. I mean, what is he doing? Giving away highway contracts or something? I just think he's an ideologue. He was over in China. Oh no, he was over in Kiev talking to Zelensky about gay highways or something. I don't know what he's going to do for Zelensky because I think Zelensky decided to postpone the elections as, a lot of people have been comparing Ukraine to Israel because of the physicality of the war. But that's where the comparison ends. I mean, this is a dictatorship over in Ukraine. This is before the war even started, it was ranked as the most corrupt nation in the UN. It came in dead last. This is not Israel, folks. I mean, Israel's our number one ally in the region. It's a democracy. It has gay rights. It has, Muslims in the Knesset. Zelensky's running a regime over there. This is apples and oranges. If you're starting to compare money, as Biden is trying to do, he's trying to tie in aid to Israel to aid to Zelensky.
Well, I've heard though that the word has gone down to Zelensky to get to the table. And no, the money's pretty much dried up.
It takes two to go to the table.
That's true, but I think the thing is, you're done. You're cut off. Good luck to you.
Good luck. I mean, nobody wants to negotiate with you. You're just standing there with your dick in the wind. I mean, he could say go to the table all he wants, but unless somebody else on the other side agrees to sit down, there's no motivation for the other side to sit down when you're winning like they are winning now. What is his motivation?
There may not be, but the point is that if there's no money, there's no money. And
that's what Trump said, and I believe his invitation to Trump was a trap to do something nefarious to Trump if he took the bait and went over to Kiev, which I strongly recommend he not do.
No, he has nothing for him. Innis Fad, anyone here with a JFK virtual ticket get their email yet from Gabrielle? I don't know how JFK Lancers notifying people or not. I don't know if it's going to be as they get closer. I've been getting a lot of emails in saying, hey, I bought the ticket. Do we know anything? I don't personally know. All I can say is to, on the page, email the person involved. I don't have any kind of ability to find out any more information. That being said,
I'll just send her an email. We'll just send the girl an email.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's email on the page. Use that. And
no, I'll do the same thing.
Okay.
I'll just email. I say, well, how do you get a notification?
Okay. Well, and perhaps we'll find out if they're.
It could be that she can't release the secret code, Eric, until the day of.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too. They may have to build it up, just like when I do this session here. I actually build a session link up the day I'm doing it. Sometimes I do it prior, but it's usually closer to the event. So folks, be patient, and there is still availability, obviously.
Yeah,
for
it's virtual.
virtual.
You're not going to have to pick up and go to Dallas like me and Eric are. I mean, you could just sit home on your fat ass on your couch and eventually getting the code and turning it on. So it's not like panic time. You don't have to book a hotel, which is now sold out anyway.
Yes, I'm hoping we have rooms.
That's why I reached out to the guy. He didn't respond. I asked him that, and there was no response. So I assume we do, but who knows?
We might need to check that.
Yeah,
it's like that's going.
We may be with Nick the lawyer in Houston, Nate the lawyer.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh boy, Pasha. The puns are more like a snowball rolling downhill.
Interesting, Pasha. He's in the factory right now mixing up the medicine. He's in the basement, and he comes out with these things. At his magazine, Pun Magazine, which I get every month. Some of them are just brilliant. The cartoons, the little videos that he makes on the making of puns. I think, and his incredible cartoon, which has now become a classic, Peter Pan, is now wonderful. I could do this all day, Sasha.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, I could do this all day, bro. Okay, what's this?
Okay, this is somebody who's going to challenge our stance. So
Okay.
let me answer on it too. But
Go ahead.
Bears went over polls today comparing Trump, RFK, and Biden in some key states.
Hold on. I just want to know what some key states means. Go on.
Okay. Trump and RFK are going up and Biden is going down.
Okay,
Question.
let me refer back to the original questions. Some key states.
Right. But okay, here we go. Question. How do you explain this if RFK is taking votes from Trump?
I can't because you didn't ask me a legitimate question. What is some key states? What does that mean, bro?
Well, we can go another one.
What are we, retards or something? I mean, if you ask me about Pennsylvania and I had to, say about Pennsylvania, it would mean something. But what are some key states? It's a trick question.
Well, and it's also irrelevant in a way too, because just because Biden's going down doesn't mean RFK's not taking votes from Trump.
That's
Two
good.
things can be true at once, for God's sake. There's a reason RFK went independent.
Mhm.
At the same time, Biden took a 10-point drop from Trump. Suddenly, RFK, who is a named candidate with 14%, gets popped in and the numbers close.
Mhm.
So how can I explain this? Well, two things can be true at once. There.
Well,
That's
not
what
only
it's
that, again, it would be state by state because it does vary state by state. In Pennsylvania, which is a battleground state, RFK may do better in Pennsylvania than he would in Iowa. So it
Right.
depends on how do you define key state? I mean, what are the key states? We don't really know yet. We know there are some, but again, it's a vague question.
And also, do they matter? Like a good example, somebody wrote in challenging, you might want to get with Barris again because he was releasing how much more popular Trump is in New York now than he was before. Now, hold on. Does anybody think Trump is going to win New York, no matter how popular he was now compared to before? Probably not.
Right. And also keep in mind, Ross Perot, who got on all 50 states, on the ballots in all 50 states, won 0 states and 0 electoral votes.
Mm-hmm.
0.
18% of the vote. So big chunk. And
18% of nothing, though. It's 18% of nothing. It ended up, affecting the election. But he himself, unlike George Wallace, who won, I think, 6 or 7 or 8 states, he wanted to control the Electoral College as a plan. Right. Wallace wanted to be a kingmaker. Perot just was a maniac, and like RFK Jr., I believe. There's no plan here.
Yeah, Wallace wanted it to go to the House to
be
negotiated.
Yep.
So let me see. Another infamous Marine, one Charles Whitman.
That's true. Yeah, there was a rumor about a tumor nestled at the base of his brain, and they took apart his head afterwards to find the tumor. And you could hear more about it in the famous song by Kinky Friedman, The Ballad of Charles Joseph Whitman. If you look at those lyrics, Kinky will explain the entire case to you in the lyrics of the song, The Ballad of Charles Joseph Whitman.
Okay, I thought it wasn't a rumor that he actually did have it, but okay. Interesting. John Doe, any chance you'll be on Rogan? Us, I guess.
Oh,
Our phones are available. Okay, give us a call, Joe. We'll be right there.
operators are standing by.
Obviously, we would, but no, we haven't heard anything like that from anybody.
Just, there was a bit that Richard Belzer used to do. Speaking of Richard Belzer, who wrote the hit list book on the people who were killed in the JFK assassination. Belzer is very funny. And he used to do a parody of a Broadway play. And it's part of his act, part of his stand-up act. And the scene was in 1940s with women on a switchboard, hundreds of women. And they're going, hold for Mr. Belzer, hold for Mr. Belzer, call for Mr. Belzer. And they've got patch cords. And he comes sliding out on stage. And he calls for Mr. Belzer. And it was like the opening of a parody of a musical. Absolutely brilliant by Richard at the time, the late Richard Belzer, of course, who many people know from a bunch of different Law and Order episodes that he ended up doing.
Not only Law and Order, he was in Homicide. He played the same character, Detective John Munch, and I think 6 different programs.
Right.
Something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but he has the world record for the most appearances in different programs of the same character, which is crazy if you consider. Dustin Russell, why do corrupt politicians make terrible magicians? Because they can't seem to make their scandals disappear.
Well, it depends who the politician is. I mean, some of them are good at it. We've seen some nifty, guys pull this off, but it can be magical to watch.
Look at LBJ.
Clinton, he was impeached, but he still functioned, and he was still able to do things.
Yeah, actually, a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Reagan had his too.
They all did.
Yeah, definitely. Let me see. Next story here. I know this is setting you off, so let's go. Ted Cruz says the GOP White House race is now a showdown between Trump and DeSantis. Says
how crazy is it? How crazy is this story? Ted Cruz wakes up today and says, this is the last chance. All right, I'll have to get out there. This thing's going down so fast. I'm just going to give it one last, piece of energy, right? 2 months before Iowa, the guy's losing by 900 points. He's going to need 7 touchdowns and 3 field goals by the half to break even. But Ted Cruz believes that DeSantis has a chance. Okay, we're supposed to take this seriously. This guy, Ted Cruz, is all over the map.
Was this today? It came out today?
Yeah, today. Exclusive.
Okay,
this
so
morning.
He literally released this same
morning.
day.
Yeah.
That the 2 biggest donors just dumped DeSantis to Trump.
No. Somebody called him up and say, you promised us this one favor, Ted, and now we're calling in the one favor. We need you today to keep us alive with this exclusive, with the Daily Mail, to just keep us alive. So they came up with this. This is how it works. They came up with this storyline, and Cruz owed them a favor. And he said, all right, I know this is insane, but I'm going to keep you alive on life support by giving this exclusive to the Daily Mail, who he called up, or had someone call up this morning from his office to tell them that cock and bull story.
Wow.
This is when people understand the physics of how journalism works, they will begin to understand how their government works and how celebrity works and how media works. You have to understand the physics of how this works. And this is how it works, people.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, you shared this with me earlier. You probably want to talk about the Museum of Tolerance.
Oh my God! I was going to go to this. And I got caught up in something else. This is Gal Gadot, the Israeli actress who has gotten a hold of, through the IDF, the actual uncut footage of the atrocities by Hamas on the day that they committed them, and she is screening this in LA and New York. So I said, this is going to be insane. So the screening occurred last night, and this event that happened reminded me, and I was telling this to Eric last night, this reminded me of George C. Scott in Dr. Strangelove when he's fighting in the war room with the Russian ambassador, and the president is yelling, there's no fighting in the war room. And that was over in front of the nuclear board that was up on the screen, and he had a secret camera, whatever. It's a black comedy. But George C. Scott is physically fighting with the Russian ambassador in Dr. Strangelove when the our nuclear bombers are headed to Moscow. This event by Godot was held at the Museum of Tolerance, which is right over here in West LA. And outside were 100 people punching each other in the face. I don't know if you have any video on this.
There's only that part in YouTube will get weird about any violence.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, you could look it up on your own. But the Museum of Tolerance held the event. The Museum of Tolerance is really the Holocaust Museum of LA. It was the Simon Wiesenthal Center, and now it's called the Museum of Tolerance. I just thought it was fascinating that it's like fighting in the war room, that they would screen this barbarity. Tip of the hat to her for having this screening. And a lot of Hollywood celebrities have signed on to this pro-Israel situation here. And it's really split the celebrity community down the middle here in terms of who's who and who's when and what's going on. This may be the greatest thing that ever happened to the destruction of the progressives here in LA, because they are really at each other's throats over this incident. But at this event, after the event, it became a riot, and it reminded me of Gangsters versus Nazis, the book, and which I'm reading right now. Gangsters versus Nazis. It was Jewish gangsters versus the Nazis in New York, and that happened in 1930 when they had the rally at Madison Square Garden with 20,000 Nazis assembled in Madison Square Garden under Fritz Kuhns, and had a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden, the home of the New York Knicks. And when they came out, there were Jewish gangsters and regular New Yorkers with baseball bats who beat the living shit out of these Nazis. And the gangsters were brought in by legitimate sources in the legal community who couldn't touch them legally. Judges and lawyers and members of the legal community in New York. They were contacted, and this was one of the first major incidents that Abe Kid Twist Rellis and Meyer Lansky and some of the gangsters, when they were younger in the 30s in New York, were involved in. And they took baseball bats to beat the living shit out of these Nazis who had to run a gauntlet to get out of that Madison Square Garden alive. And this became an ad hoc tool of the people in New York. And these guys didn't care about the fact that this was a crime because they were already gangsters. So it didn't really matter. But there was a gauntlet of these gangsters waiting for the Nazis to come out. And I recommend the book, Gangsters versus the Nazis, which we'll do an episode on at some point.
Cool. All right. Well, there is another third-party candidate we're happy to see. Jill Stein.
Jill Stein. You know, it's great. I mean, they're going to have to ask her position on the state of Israel. I mean, look what happened with RFK, Eric. Look at this story where his staff resigned over his support of Israel. This is really, I'm telling you, it's the biggest issue we've had in decades, because you're going to have to declare which side are you on. I was watching Murray yesterday. What's his name? The British gay writer.
Douglas Murray. Yeah,
Douglas Murray with Piers Morgan. I really recommend that.
That's a strong.
Wow, what a debate these two guys had. Murray, who didn't see it coming, was reporting live from Gaza. At some point in the interview, a rocket almost comes in and hits them, and he has to bail out and comes back, to his credit, amazingly, to the same debate with the douchebag Piers Morgan, who keeps asking him about free speech. You know, and Murray was saying, look, there's laws on the books. You can't say you're going to murder a race of people in the streets of London and just because you're having a march. And Morgan said, why? I don't see a problem with that. And Murray was saying, look, it's a terrorist organization. There's laws that are not being enforced in London over these marches by the terrorists who are planning a march on Veterans Day tomorrow, which is a big deal to the British. And they are doing it intentionally to shove it in the Brits' faces. They're being more and more provocative, Murray said, trying to get a reaction. The police have said we can't arrest them. We're outnumbered 10,000 to 1. So the police can't, by their own admission, enforce the laws that are on the books. But Piers Morgan seems to have no problem with his one complaint that, you know, just because 100 people are yelling "kill the Jews," it doesn't mean that there can't be a rally. So Murray says, really? What if they were saying the same thing to African Americans? How long would you stay in that march, Piers? And he got all embarrassed. You know, Murray really destroys him in this debate. It was an impromptu debate, but well worth watching if you can find it yesterday on YouTube.
Well, Douglas Murray is a devastating debater.
Devastating. He just destroyed. He had a rocket attack and came back from the rocket attack to destroy Piers Morgan. Wow. Tip of the hat to Murray.
No, he's a sharp dude. And if you ever want to see a good example of him, he was on with Matt Taibbi during the Monk debates about Twitter files up against Malcolm Gladwell and some New York Times reporter. And he eviscerated Malcolm Gladwell.
Gladwell's a piece of shit.
Oh, he absolutely is. Absolutely. Yeah. It's disgusting because I actually liked his books back in the day, but seeing the way he was so disingenuous, and Matt Taibbi he's
smart. He's a smart guy.
But he's not good verbally. Yeah, he's not really good on his feet and can get run over. Murray is extremely
he's a great writer and he's a great orator. I mean, he comes from that British, school of oration, that British school of writing, and from he's like a gay Christopher Hitchens. Although who knows, maybe Christopher Hitchens was gay. I don't know.
Could be. Exactly who I was thinking of. I mean, he is literally Hitch's legacy in a weird way.
Yeah. There is a Hitchens who's his brother who reviews Peter who reviews movies really harshly that I enjoy.
Yeah, Peter is a hardcore conservative, which people were like, huh? About, because Christopher Hitchens did the flip too. And I think he came up in the conversation with Douglas Murray.
Oh, that's great. That's really great.
On Morgan. I think that Hitchens came up during that. And
Piers Morgan was, he really came out smelling badly out of this debate. Because he could talk his ass off too. I mean, this guy just got his clock cleaned.
Oh, yeah. I got to give Morgan some credit, though, because I think he's supposed to be on the other side.
I know, but this was just too much. He just kept hammering it. And Murray just kept, destroying him. And he just kept hammering the same point over free speech. And you could say whatever you want. What does he care? He's not a Jew. What does he care? He pointed out if it was African Americans, he wouldn't be saying the same thing.
Yep. And
that's the litmus test, bro. Can you say the same thing for blacks that you could say about the Jews? They're at Penn State, they're projecting swastikas onto the building with lighting. Yesterday, synagogues in Montreal were firebombed and machine gunned, the outside of synagogues in Montreal. I mean, this is happening all over the world, people. This is not some isolated incident that's going on in New York or LA. I mean, my girlfriend had to work at this place yesterday, this theater, and it was a Jewish themed show, and they had armed guards outside. I mean, we can't live like this. This can't go on. Something's got to give here. We can't just keep living with machine gun guards outside every single event. It's enough already.
No, it's even worse in London.
Yeah.
It's really bad there because I was talking to Andrew. You've met Andrew. Andrew Gold. Yeah. And he was talking about how he had to walk by that palace. And he said, I'm genuinely scared. My family is frightened.
No, he should be.
They're trying to figure out, do we need to get out of here? Do we need to go to the States? Do we need to, it's
history is repeating itself. Nobody believed it in 1934. There were people who couldn't flee. It was too late and they closed the door and they couldn't get out of Berlin. I mean, people have to just look at history. If they don't believe it can happen, it's already happened. It's not a theoretical situation.
True.
I mean, if they had their druthers and the ability to do this, they would eradicate the state of Israel tomorrow if they could. And I don't mean by fiat, I mean by gun.
True. All right. So let me see this one here.
This is good.
Yeah, Elise is filing an ethics complaint against Judge Engeron.
Read that for a second. I'll be right back.
For his blatant bias in calling the ex-president a bad guy, and after smiling for the cameras at the start of the fraud trial. Yeah, this guy is a true prize. Really great dude. I made everybody suffer earlier. I need to find that image. Here we go. This is courtesy of our good friend Viva Fry. I had to look at it so everybody else can suffer with that shot too. Is this the guy you want to be the judge in your case?
Oh my God! Look at that
This guy.
What, dude? What is the deal with this freak? What is the deal? Look at the dude. I mean, he took over, or he is running the alumni magazine of his high school. I mean, think about how crazy that is. This is he's the editor of the alumni newsletter of some high school, and he submits those photos for the high school newspaper, alumni high school newspaper, to show how freaky this dude is.
Yep. And I mean, there's so much coming out and so much going on. And
well, I mean, look,
Loomer's on it, dude.
Oh, is this Loomer's thing about the judge? Yeah. About the same judge?
Yep. No, his whole family are all.
Oh, they're all on the payroll.
No. And you don't want Laura Loomer after you.
I don't know why, and I said this to Barnes originally, that they don't turn these things into show trials like the Chicago 7 did, because this guy is exactly the same as Judge Julius Hoffman, the trial judge in the Chicago 7. This guy's a maniac. Hoffman was a maniac. They turned it into a circus, which is what I recommend they do here, but nobody listens to me. They should have done this with what's his name's case out of Texas, the Alex Jones case. They should have done it there. Do not let this go down quietly. Do not cooperate with them. Get cited for contempt. I mean, disrupt the courtroom. Do something. You're sitting there playing their game with Roland Feisler as the Nuremberg judge. I mean, do not cooperate with these people. Trump, at least he took something out of his pocket and tried to hand it to the judge. I guess showing how much his estate was actually worth.
It's technically not that, but the most similar thing is a disclaimer.
Right.
What it was is essentially the boilerplate of the bank saying we can't be held liable to whatever.
And then his lawyer came out in the street and started, demanding that this guy, stop pounding the table and yelling at her. She said, "I'm not going to tolerate this. I wouldn't tolerate it in my regular life. I'm not going to tolerate it now." She came out in the street and did that, which is it's nice, but I wish she would do it in the courtroom, grow some freaking balls and stand up and yell it back at the judge. I mean, you got to somehow tie into your William Kunstler and fight back here. If you get contempt, you get contempt.
I think Trump did dare him to lock him up.
It's not his job. That's right. That's great. But his lawyers have to do this. They have to yell back at this judge. Make this into a pig circus that it is. Stop cooperating with this maniac. It's unbelievable how passive, how sheep-like all of the people involved in these cases are. It's astounding.
True. Hopefully that changes. Let me see. We have some Rumble rants that I need to get through here. Freddy65. Eric, have your lawyer friends talked about the new Blaze TV expose about Capitol Police perjury in Oathkeeper and Proud Boy trials? Video don't lie, but feds do. I've not talked with them about it. I have to look into it. Thank you. No Sniper in the Nest. Do you know when they're sending out the virtual ticket email? As I talked about earlier, I'm not really sure when that's going. We'll email and see if we get more information. Backdoor Biden. I don't know where you want me to go with this. Since the Jews control everything, how did things turn so quickly? I don't know if is that a genuine question or is it a commentary? I don't know what that means. No Sniper in the Nest. Sorry, my question about Lancer ended up being asked on YouTube. It does say this on the website. Oh, thank you for supporting JFK Lancer and your patience waiting for our website to be back online.
Okay.
Well, I guess there's
an answer.
Yeah. Hopefully it's.
I think it's a one-person show or two people running the thing.
Oh, yeah. I think we overwhelmed her. They really do. They're hoping for a neat, tiny little conference, and we're bringing them out.
We're bringing in an army of people. I mean, I think she's overwhelmed. But what I'm looking forward to is the dinner. That's going to be fun on Saturday night.
God, yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be great. Okay, you sent me this story. Very weird.
I sent you
Chicago student wins.
Oh, yes. Again, these photos have nothing to do with the story. These are embedded videos by Fox News.
I can't help that. Yeah.
Right. Now we can't help. But a girl who went to Chicago public school, they had a class teaching meditation. And as part of the meditation, they had to worship this pagan idol, which was a Hindu god. And she didn't know what was going on. And they had her reciting all of these Sanskrit or Hindu statements. I don't think this is her, but
that
is her? Is that really her?
Yeah, she's like,
that's
brilliant. I'm not gonna do that. Hell with that.
She's probably a Baptist or something, Southern Baptist. Yeah. So she said they're not going to do that. The mother sued the school, and yesterday they won the case for a certain amount of money that they were forced
$150K.
$150K, which is nice. It'll pay for her college. Mm-hmm. And she said, I only worship one God, and that's when I go to church and get on my knees. And I'm not going to start doing that to some pagan idol in the middle of the school. And the teacher was outraged that she didn't want to worship a pagan Hindu god and multiple gods, apparently.
Yeah, well,
multiple. That wasn't just one Hindu god. It was multiple Hindu gods. Because like when you learn to meditate, you obviously have to go full Hindu. I mean, there's no other way to meditate.
Which is very weird. It's like, won't the Buddhists get pissed off?
Look, I meditate every day for 20 minutes, and there's no Hindu god involved in that meditation. It's purely physics.
And there are some people who meditate to traditional Christian God. I mean, there's no.
You can pay for a mantra if you want to go to. What's his name? Who did Twin Peaks? The director of Twin Peaks now has a Buddhist retreat where he sells you a mantra. The director, I forget his name.
David Lynch. It took me a minute.
David Lynch has a Buddhist retreat monastery here in LA where you go and you pay him hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a mantra, a private personal mantra. And I told Thomas Jane, I'll give you a mantra for free. He says, no, I'd feel better getting it from Lynch. And I said, okay. And I think he went over and paid $800 for a mantra. I said, I could have done it for like $80, bro. I could have given you one. But he feels better getting an $800 mantra.
Hey, gotta have that.
No, it's like Om, but there's others that I apparently probably uses a computer program. David Lynch to come up.
He uses AI.
ChatGPT.
Write me a mantra. Here you go. I love that. Rosalind Duke, looking forward to seeing you guys here in Dallas.
Whoa.
Look forward to seeing you.
All right.
Also, any chance you could list recommended books? In some of the episodes on the JFK, we do have books that are there. Eventually, we'll get a.
Well, we do it every week, and I'll tell you. Just now that you said that, I just wanted to thank these people while there's a chance, because they're building up of people who have donated money for the books, actually, and the books. This list of people are people who donate to the JFK Book Fund, and I'm just going to read their names because it's been building up for a while. Michael Cox, Sharon Kosterman, Boris Kachaluba, Kirk Morris, User Experience Group. I don't know what that is. Matthew Hellett, Nicholas Ratniks. Thank you. Keith Blackston, Brian Halcott, Jack Rosenfeld, who's actually Danish but lives in LA. Juliet Swoboda, who may or may not be related to Ron Swoboda, the former right fielder of the New York Mets, who made the incredible catch in 1969, going horizontal in right field to save the Mets bacon. William Taylor, John Smith, Paul Seabury, thank you. Heather Rose, a repeat customer.
Heather Rose is a lot. She's
right.
Very regular, very.
Melanie Spadig, Ellen Haggerty, Six Semper Tyrannis, Judy Young, Daniel Shear, and Bill Allen. I just thank you for donating to the book fund. Maybe this guy, if he wants a particular book, maybe he could ask us
Well, I think it's looking for like recommended reading, and
we have recommended books
that's what I'm
repeatedly.
saying. In
Every episode.
a lot of the JFK episodes, we do have lists,
But
especially
even with Whitaker Chambers, I mean, we had
Hmm.
Witness. I mean, last week I told you about the Waller book on William Donovan, who is William Sullivan, by the way, played by Robert De Niro. They made it William Sullivan, but it's William Donovan. But yeah, the book by Waller is probably the best book on Donovan if you want a book. And then obviously Witness by the autobiography is really amazing. But you know, we try to mention them as much as we can.
Amaryllis Fox's book, not so much.
Right, but it's a good collection. It's a good collection item. You know, there are books that I have on the Kennedy assassination that are not great books, but I have to have. I mean, I have Case Closed by Posner. I wouldn't recommend it, but I have to have it. You know, and also the Bugliosi book and some other crazy books.
The entire Warren Commission is on your shelf.
Yeah,
to read anytime.
Well, I have a condensed version.
Okay. Jay Clover, finally get to catch you live. Good to see you. Mark, what's your basic alternative drug policy?
The policy that we used to use is very effective, where you're sentenced to jail, and then inside the jail, while you're doing the time, they have 12-step programs in jail. If you want to talk to my friend Robert Downey Jr., who went through 8 million different ramifications until he was sentenced to Corcoran State Prison and is now sober a long time. He went to meetings inside Corcoran State, and then when he came out, continued his sobriety on the outside. Downey will tell you himself that if it wasn't for him being sentenced to state prison, he would be dead today. And a lot of people are dead today because of the end of the war on drugs. And I'll just leave it at that. We get a lot of people. There's a lot of people get sent by judges to 12-step programs on certain thing called court cards, where they're mandated either to get out of jail. They're ordered to go to X amount of meetings. You can ask Mel Gibson about that. And you have to get it signed by the secretary of the meeting. And there's an interweaving of recovery with the courts that's been going on for a long time, and it's been very successful. The progressives don't like it, and they don't like it because they don't believe addiction is a real thing. They believe that you can get some therapy, talk about your mother, and stop smoking crack. It ain't going to happen. And the amount of stuff that they put in the new kit, let me just finish on this one thing. The new drug kit has come out, and this is a drug kit that has a crack pipe in it, has a cooker in it, has cotton in it, has alcohol swabs in it. And this is to enable these drug addicts to keep using on the streets. And they've added 2 new things in there. One of them is tinfoil, tons of tinfoil, and another one is the lighter to smoke the fentanyl off the tinfoil. And even the people who are homeless in the Tenderloin are complaining that this is enabling them to continue to use drugs. That's how far this insanity has gone. This limited use of drugs as a type of recovery program is the sickest thing that's ever come down the pike from the progressives, because abstinence is the only way to start to get sober. How you get abstinent is a debate for another episode, but abstinence is the ground zero, and you have to strip away the drugs and then get into the underlying problem. You can't get into the underlying problem while somebody's high on drugs. And that has been proven over and over and over and over again. The war on drugs, which started in 1972 under Nixon, has many different facets to it. But the threat, removing that threat of jail has led to an incredible destruction of our culture, because jail gets people sober. And I know people say, yeah, there's drugs in jail, but there's treatment in jail, and there's treatment facilities in the prison. And the fight to get into those meetings is one of the most demanding fights to get into meetings. And this came up in the Sirhan parole hearing, because Sirhan was going to meetings in prison. And only the long-termers get the benefit, the luxury of going to meetings. The ones who are there short-term, they feel you're going to be out in a little while, so we're not going to allow you to take a seat that's limited, Eric, in the meetings. So the lifers and long-term people who want to get sober in jail are the ones who have been attending meetings in prison the longest. And those people are the most respected people in the joint. I'll leave it at that.
All right. Hold on. Let me see. Imagine election night and the EC meeting if POTUS candidates were Biden, Trump, RFK Jr., and the RNC nominee.
Well, it could be even more. I mean, it could be everybody's got a couple of votes, and it's just going to lower the amount of electoral votes of the two main candidates. I think the only damage that could occur here is a reduction in the electoral college votes of the two major parties, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I'm still I don't see how it really kills Trump's chances of defeating Biden if it's guys on either side taking votes from each other.
Right,
because
the more the merrier in that regard. But,
right.
Here we go. Marty Smith fan Sue. Jill Stein put out a statement condemning Israel yesterday.
Good
calling
luck.
Israel war criminals.
Right on, brother. There we go.
David Parsons. Wasn't Hitchens a switch hitter?
He's British. He's British, I assume. Lord Mountbatten.
Oof.
Who am I to say?
Thomas Kiefaber. What's with all these anti-Semocrats? What rocks were they under?
They were under the South African rock of apartheid. And when that ended, they had to come up with another apartheid state. And they invented the theme. See, once you win a battle, you got to start looking for a new thing. It's like the Lone Ranger, the Lenny Bruce bit on the Lone Ranger, which I recommend. Thank you, Masked Man. And Lenny Bruce does a famous bit with the Lone Ranger where the Lone Ranger has cleaned up all the segregation, poverty, and disease in the country because he's very effective, the Lone Ranger. And the Lone Ranger says, now I'm going to have to make trouble. And he goes, what? He says, that's right, because there's nothing for me to do. So when apartheid was defeated in Africa, South Africa, they didn't know what to do with themselves. So they turned their turrets and money towards the state of Israel. Completely erroneous, completely deranged. And it started with black nationalists who needed a party to go to. And that party was the anti-Israel party. And that has slowly seeped into, over 30 years, the platform of the Democratic Party. And with Obama, one of the biggest Israel haters in Democratic politics history, he has carried the torch for the destruction of the state of Israel. And many of them have continued that line. It comes from black Democrats. Their hatred and transference of the hatred of South Africa to Israel is, of course, absurd. But maybe I can give you an analogy that may hold up. It's not exact, but it's kind of like this. You have a house in the ghetto, a building with slums, got rats, and the water isn't working, and you're sending letters to the landlord who's a Jew who lives on Long Island, right? And you're saying, clean this up, and the guy does it repeatedly. The landlord sends in guys, and no matter how many guys he sends in, the plumbing still sucks, the rats are still there, and he says, look, if you really don't like it, you can move out. And they said, no, we'd rather stay here. The rent's $300 a month. And the guy says, well, for $300 a month, this is what you get. He says, I can only do so much. Okay, so what do? They break out of the apartment building. They go to his house in Syosset, and they kill his entire family. And then they say to him, would you mind now fixing the rat problem and the plumbing problem? That's what happened in Gaza and Israel a couple of weeks ago. That's the equivalent, because the debate there is really a debate over condominiums and building more condos on Israel's land. This is a condo squabble. They went so far over the humanistic line over a border dispute involving condominiums, they went and killed the landlord's entire family and now are saying that you have to fix our plumbing. If that analogy makes any sense to anybody, you'll understand what I'm saying. That's what's going on. And blacks have sided with these Palestinians since the collapse of apartheid in South Africa in the 1970s and 80s. So that's where we are, people. And it's going to split the Democratic Party wonderfully down the middle, which is what this guy is alluding to, because you're going to have to come out and say, as Jimmy Dore did with RFK, which side are you on? And it's really fascinating to see who's on what side. We have a woman out here running for Senate, Barbara Lee, an African-American woman, who's now slipped to fourth place. She's been passed by Steve Garvey, who's now in third place. Adam Schiff is in first place, and Porter, I think is either first or second behind Schiff. But Barbara Lee has dropped to fourth, and she was a big supporter of the state of Israel. So on Monday, she switched sides. She now called them genocidal maniacs, Israel, a state that she supported for 20 years. She now flipped on Monday because she's slipping in the polls. So this is going to be fascinating to watch for political junkies to see how many people go in what direction. It reminds me of the time when Obama woke up on a Monday morning and said he had switched his position. He was now in favor of gay marriage. And I thought, okay, well, at some point he's got to switch his position, and he did. But what was fascinating was the 50 to 100 pundits who were his underlings switching their position the same day. And I thought, this is just, it reminded me of the Borat. No, it was Ali G. I think it was Ali G in one of the movies or one of the episodes where he's filming a political commercial, and he's the director of a commercial, and he goes to the guy and he says, now I need you to switch sides. And the guy goes, what? He goes, yeah, take the other position. So the guy takes the other position. He films him doing both sides simply for the commercial, the political commercial. That's how quickly they switched on gay marriage when their leaders switched. It was within hours. Hundreds and hundreds of pundits switched their position over an issue that the day before, they were opposed to gay marriage. On Monday, they were in favor of gay marriage.
That's the way tribal works. All right, Jenny's getting inky with it. Looks like he had a turkey surgery surgically implanted.
Who?
Might be Adams. I don't know. No. This is the judge.
Judge. How about Fetterman being pro-Israel? How about that, going after the Hamas people? Fetterman carrying an Israeli flag the other day. Man, oh man, is this getting weird.
Yeah. Sam Adams 73. Mark, any movie show a judge like Engoron?
Any movie show a judge like Engoron? Well, the Nuremberg trial, the newsreel footage shows Roland Feisler, who was later killed by a beam in the courtroom when a B-17 dropped a bomb on the courtroom, and he's killed by a timber from the roof that crushes him to death. But yeah, the closest thing I could see right now is Roland Feisler, the Nuremberg judge, who would scream at the defendants and bang on the table like this cat's doing with the in the Trump trial.
All right. Pat M. Best on Freeform Friday. I don't recognize the speakers in Dallas except for Jeff Morley, Dick Russell, and Robert G. and his wife. Where did VP go? Vince had something else, I think. Of course, the incredible team of Eric and Mark. Who are the rest?
The rest are big names to us. I don't know if they mean anything to you. I mean, to me, it's an all-star team. It's like you're saying you don't know the catcher from the Minnesota Twins. I can't help you on the all-star game. You know, believe me, these are prominent people in the JFK research community. Whether you know them or not, I think you're going to be elucidated by their viewpoints.
True. J-Man Jack, originally tuned in for JFK, now hooked on Freeform Friday. You guys
look at that. Yeah, see that? Jack, you didn't even think about that, did you, Jack?
Pat M again. Always like a friend who typed monstrous on her license plate. Being a hippie figured best way to get everyone chanted. I don't understand that.
But she's obviously stoned, obviously. Obviously, she's an old hippie.
Or he. I mean,
Pat, it's like Pat is the character from SNL where you couldn't tell whether she was a man or a woman, remember?
I'm surprised they haven't suppressed those.
Yeah.
Tosh Quinn. Mark, are you going to do something on Epstein like the Prince and the P word?
No.
Probably not. I mean,
no,
people are entire channels on Epstein.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, this is untold stories. You got to understand, the middle word is untold. That sounds like it's been told. I could be wrong, but we try to do untold American stories. Or
stories that you've heard one way, but there's more to it. Because obviously JFK's been told, but not all of it. Anyway,
really, I mean, those characters that I've pulled out of my ass have been told.
Not all of them, but you know what I'm saying. I'm getting that pushback on there. Like the RFK. Anyway, Tosh Quinn, forget the media. Mark and Eric, this is the place to be, people. Thank you.
Well, we're going to have an important announcement at the end of this show, so please don't leave before we go over to locals. Please, there's going to be a huge announcement. I don't know when Eric's going to pull the plug on us, so I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, well, we got just a few more super chats, and
Okay,
we'll
all
be
right.
heading through.
All right.
Basil Peshkov, what's the best plan for Israel moving forward?
Buffer zone. Massive DMZ, just like South and North Korea. A 10 to 20 mile buffer zone, no man's land all around the state of Israel. And, with troops. I don't know the physical size of the buffer zone, but whatever they perceive to be the physical side of the buffer zone, and then using the tunnel destruction stuff to stop these tunnels that these cats are using the money to build tunnels. Like they're building tunnels like the Lincoln Tunnel over there with the money they're getting from us. They're building tunnels that apparently are amazing. We saw that with the drug cartels. They were building, more primitive tunnels. But these guys apparently bringing in engineers from Saudi Arabia or something.
Okay, Tosh Quinn apparently has feelings. Mark, do you think Bibi jumped at the chance when Hamas did the killings?
No, I don't think so. I think that he did what he had to do. I mean, I don't know what else would you do. Your people are being slaughtered.
Here's the follow-up question, though. So I'm kind of going, where are we going with this?
Oh, yeah. It's a concentration camp. Of course, nobody could leave. It's just like Auschwitz. It's exactly the same. You can't leave. You can't get food. You can't get anything in. Anybody could leave anytime they want. They don't want to leave. That's okay. But to compare it to a concentration camp is it's a little bit of a stretch. I don't know. The people in Auschwitz were in a concentration camp. I guess it's the same. What could possibly be different? I mean, when you see where the leaders of Hamas live and how they've taken down $12 billion and live in Qatar in absolute luxury.
By the way, that's my criticism right now, or one thing I have. Why the hell is Israel not demanding directly of Qatar, turn these son of a bitches over?
What are you going to do? Qatar's not turning them over. You could demand all you want.
Well, at least you could demand it. At least have the,
Believe me, I'm sure there's been statements privately to the heads of Qatar. I'm sure they've said many things. There's private ways to do this as opposed to doing it publicly. But these guys they remind me of Saddam Hussein's kids. Remember the kids?
Hussein Qusay.
Right. That's how these cats are rolling up there with gold toilets and private jets, billions of dollars. Arafat did the same thing. These mutts have raked these people's money and they live in poverty. And these cats live in Qatar in complete luxury. And they want this to keep going on and on and on. It's not going to end well for them. I'll put it that way, because there are groups of Mossad that are looking for them and they will be executed. Take it to the bank, people.
All right. Tommy Jekyll on Rumble with the rant. I guess I should take Barnes' questions up with Barnes, but he says or seems to that this should happen in the courts and this should happen in the courts, yet it never does. Long past old. I don't know.
Okay, so, and that has nothing to do with Robert. I mean, I agree with this guy. I mean, Robert's a court member. He's a court administrator, as a bar member of certain states. He's a member of the court. I'm not. I don't have that, worship of the courts. I think most of these, and he's pointed it out more and more, Robert, about how corrupt these courts and how these judges are so corrupt. We're now seeing it for the first time. And it's also the right seeing it for the first time. I grew up with the Chicago 7. I knew the FBI was corrupt. I knew the courts were corrupt. The eye-opening pilling of these people now is on the conservative side, who are now seeing what I saw when I was growing up. It's now, and these guys who are law and order, rock rib Republican conservatives are now having their eyes open for the first time, seeing that the FBI is the Gestapo, seeing that these judges are corrupt hacks. I've seen it up from the other side my whole life, so it's not startling to me. It's just the other side involved in the eye opening now.
No, it's whoever's in power. Is generally the way it goes.
Yeah.
Backdoor Biden with the Rumble rant. It appears the Jews don't control everything is what I mean. I'm appalled at what is going on at campuses, NYC, New York Times, etc. Came out of nowhere.
It didn't come out of nowhere.
It was there.
It didn't. It came out of nowhere for you, the goyim, not for us. We've known this for decades. This has been going on. You now see what we've known for 20 to 30 years. And now you're going to see Ivy League schools begin to shut down these organizations for the first time. But it's not stopping Glenn Greenwald from screaming First Amendment. It's not stopping Jimmy Dore from yelling, this is censorship. The chutzpah of these people, the sheer balls, to say that these hate groups calling for the killing of kikes is free speech, and then hassling and physically threatening the students in the school. Give me a break. Again, make them African Americans and give me the argument. Make them black. Tell me the story when these blacks are going to be surrounded by white people who are going to taunt them. Please, you're making a fool out of yourself.
All right. No Sniper in the Nest said, Eric and Mark will be one of 33 presentations at Lancer, 3% of the conference time, but half the audience will be there because of them. Great job, guys.
I think it's more than half.
I think so.
I think it's more than half. But I ordered some merch, so I'm bringing some merch for people to scoff up as souvenirs. So we do have a merch table, Eric and I.
Oh, I don't have a table, but we'll be there.
No, they're giving us a table. I swear to you, we're getting a table.
Okay, who's going to man the table?
I've got people, Hunley. Don't worry. I've thought about that. It's not going to be.
Get back to me then.
Yeah,
Right.
It's not going to be me and you. I'm bringing in people.
All right, Alex, Davey Duke, Rumble Rant. Mark, thanks for the insights on ex-CIA RFK Jr. campaign manager Amaryllis Fox. Just blew me away. Spooks are children of spooks. It's hereditary, family affairs. It's JFK nuts. I think he means RFK.
RFK. Well, what did we say in the episode? I mean, we traced the Obama lineage to CIA going back multiple generations, and
Dick Carlson, Tucker Carlson,
the Payne family, and some of these other people. I mean, when you look at the Muret family, it is. I think other countries probably do it too. I just don't know about other countries' intelligence lineage, but here. Families predominate in terms of intel operations, unless you're coming out of an orphanage, then they start from scratch. Right. With somebody like Dick Carlson, I mean, he came out of an orphanage. Some of them just come out of orphanages and they build them up from scratch.
They either have family or zero family. It's like both extremes. So super connected family, nepotism style.
Well, when you see the movie,
no family to be
right in The Good Shepherd. Matt Damon's son wants to be a CIA operative, and the wife doesn't want him to be, and he's supposed to take care of him, and he wants to follow in his father's footsteps, and he goes to Yale, joins Skull and Bones, and becomes a CIA operative in the movie The Good Shepherd.
All right. Ennis Fad. I have a book to recommend. Catch the Jew by Tuvia Tenenbaum. He's Jewish, speaks Hebrew, Arabic, and German. Doesn't look Jewish. He travels through the West Bank, Israel, etc. And the inside info is amazing.
Okay.
All right.
I'll look it up.
Roosevelt Media News. What do you think of the Fed government making benzos by prescription a controlled substance like narcotics, and people who need the drug are being demonized?
I don't know about need the drug. And when you say need the drug, I presume you're meaning you're addicted to the drug, and you
probably the overprescription. Dr. Drew's been complaining about overprescription of benzos for a while.
The benzo addiction took off during COVID. Mostly women. It's about 75% women.
And Jordan Peterson.
And it's almost impossible to home detox yourself off of benzodiazepines. It's one of the most addictive drugs in the world. Okay. So when you begin to take Ativan and you begin to take Xanax it wasn't designed for a short, brief period of a matter of weeks. And if you're on it more than weeks, it's almost impossible to get off of. And you could say you can get off of it, but you can't. And you need to have a medical detox. The medical detox in a facility takes about a week to 10 days, sometimes 30 days. That's how long lasting benzodiazepines are. So the reality of it is, after you're done going from multiple doctors, you're kind of shit out of luck. because there's only X amount of doctors that you can get it from in your region. Then you go to the street. But the stuff on the street now has fentanyl in it. So a lot of friends of mine and people I know have OD'd by taking street benzos, which is really cut with fentanyl, where the drug cartels are now making phony prescription bottles to put them in to show the customers that these are prescription benzos, and they're not. They're fentanyl and benzodiazepine, or mostly all fentanyl, that are being sold as Xanax on the street. And the people going on the street are because they can't get them any longer because they've abused the doctors who have sussed out that you're prescription hunting, and they will close the door to you, and eventually you run out of doctors. If that helps anybody or explains it to anyone, you know who I'm talking to.
All right, Tosh Quinn again. UK is to blame for leaving Palestine after World War II.
I don't know about that. I mean, they were good to get them out of there. I mean, they fought tooth and nail. They didn't just leave.
All right, Pat M said typed mantra on license plate, autocorrect. So
mantra became monstrous.
Okay,
that's confusing. That was pretty confusing. Mantra was monstrous. Wow.
Basil Benchkop again. What was the reason for protest against Netanyahu on judicial for 4 months?
Well, basically, his wife took some handbags as gifts, and it was political trying to get him out. It was Trumpian in that regard. It started out with free gifts for his wife. I mean, it was pretty low-level shit.
All right, Marty Smith Fan Sue. Benzos are bad. No one needs it more than a few days.
Right. Yeah,
so there is a problem.
Right. I just said that. That's what they're designed for. You know, like somebody close to you dies, or there's grief, or some sort of emergency situation. But during COVID, all of these women that Dr. Drew and I have been talking to and talking with were literally handed COVID benzo prescriptions up the kazoo. We now have a massive, and I mean massive, benzo addiction problem in the major cities of this country. And I don't know the answer to that problem other than a thorough medical detox in a facility, because you can die from that. You could kick heroin at home. You could kick a lot of things at home. You can't kick benzos at home.
Well, backdoor Biden rumble rant. And last one. There's something about living in Deep South. I never saw a nun until I was in high school. There were 2 Jews in my school, and my brother married one. I'm just blown away at the hatred and threats.
No kidding. Welcome to my world. Welcome to our world. It's hard to understand, but if you've grown up in it, it's just part of your life. But, you know, you rack your brain over this. It's just, you know, even when I was 13, 15 years old, you know, I can only say this. I think it's in Take the Money and Run, the Woody Allen movie. He goes to his mother and said, "Why did God make Nazis?" And she says, "I don't know. Ask your father." So he goes to his father and he says, "Dad, why did God make Nazis?" And he goes, "You expect me to answer that question? I don't even know how a toaster oven works, for Christ's sake." And that, my friend, is the essence of the dilemma. It's a problem that nobody could seem to figure out, other than the old slogan that the Jews killed Christ. And that's, you know, Lenny Bruce dealt with that thing, that his uncle had a hardware store in Bethlehem and sold the nails to the Romans. But that's a funny bit. In reality is the Romans joined the Christian church, and they transferred the blame of killing Christ to the Jews when the Romans became Christians. And that's the short answer.
All right. Last super chat. And then Oswald will be marching us to locals after Mark's announcement. Tosh Quinn, hope you guys do a recording of Dallas for people who can't attend. There are virtual tickets.
That's the virtual ticket.
Download.
Right.
It's in the description of this video that you're watching right now, on Rumble as well.
Listen, you'll get your confirmation email. Don't worry about it. The reality of it is, get a virtual ticket to this thing, because it's going to be the Woodstock of JFK. It's going to be 3 days of love, peace, happiness, and magic bullets, folks. So I highly recommend, not for us. I mean, you could see us here every week. You know, we're going to be doing something special, which I'm going to get into right now. But for the rest of the people on there, to see how big this is, it's just not me and Eric doing this. There are a lot of people who dedicated their lives to dealing with this situation in specific areas. Like, you know, people who focus on the bullets, people who focus on the weapons, people who focus on the limo, who focus on foreign policy. There's a lot of people who specialize in a lot of things. I'm kind of a garbage hound. I cherry pick a lot of different things and put them out there. But there are guys who are experts far more than me, like the Tippett guy we met. You know, I'm not an expert in any one area. I kind of know a little bit about a lot of areas, but that's just a journalist thing on my part. But Eric and I have met people who just know one thing, like the Tippett kid. Remember that guy, Eric?
Yeah, Matt Douthat.
Yeah, I mean, that's his world. He knows everything about the Tippett killing. You know, I can have a conversation with him, but that guy is the leading expert on J.D. Tippett, right? So yep. I don't even know if he's going to be there. I'm just saying.
I think he lives in Dallas, so he probably will.
Lives in Dallas. Greg Parker is going to give a virtual presentation, for instance, out of Australia. I got him involved in this thing. Greg Parker is the leading expert on Oswald, early Oswald stuff. He's written a book on Oswald, and he's out of Australia. He's going to be giving a virtual presentation himself.
And we like Australians better than the English when it comes to
right. But I'm saying Parker is one of the leading experts on Oswald, and I respect Parker a lot. I've written for his website, and I've done some stuff with Parker. And I talked him into leaving the other conference, the Psycho Conference from Hell with Rob Reiner, who posted something the other day, didn't he?
He's released a podcast with Soledad
O'Brien.
I think that's his.
No, you mean the former CNN anchor?
I think so.
Oh my lord! Oh my lord!
So, what is the announcement before we head over to locals?
Okay, so Eric and I are going to be doing something because everybody's been hawking us about this Oswald November 22nd thing. What are you going to do? And we've been ducking it because we wanted to torture you. No, we've been ducking it because we have a different project and we couldn't reveal it until right now. But this is November 10th, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're trying to do is, a lot of people know this story. I and Oliver Stone wrote a Oswald miniseries, which is 10 hours long. It's 5 separate scripts that I wrote that Oliver put his 2 cents into every stinking page. And we went around Hollywood trying to produce this, which should be a documentary by itself, because at some point when I was pitching it with Oliver, the Oswald miniseries, for instance, to Netflix, HBO, and everybody else, 50 people would assemble in the room, and probably 30 of them were deep state. And then they had films of it, and just a complete crazy thing that went on for about 6 months of Oliver and I pitching this. So I was approached by Macmillan Books about a year ago to turn this into an audio book using AI and celebrity readers. It's supposed to be directed by Thomas Jane, and we could never reach a deal. And I never really trusted a British conglomerate, to be honest with you, like Macmillan Books, which is the biggest book company in the world. Things seemed sketchy to me, and it wasn't really the money. It was kind of the control that Macmillan wanted over the project. And I said to Eric at the time, I think we could do this ourselves. And that was about a year ago, Eric, or 6 months ago.
Something like that. And
7 or 8 months ago, or
I don't know. We've been talking it in and out for a while.
Right. So we've been talking this in and out for a while. What we wanted to do and what we're going to do and what we've been trying to do is to use AI technology to take my scripts, use the actual voices, and have an audio visual broadcast on November 22nd of the first part 1, which is a 2-hour part 1 of Oswald. The whole thing is called Oswald. So this would be like an Oswald Locals AI project that we're going to premiere at exactly 12:35 on November 22nd, Dallas time. The moment, actually 12:30 is probably when we'll start, because that's when the limo turns onto Elm Street. And that, when you see the Hertz clock turning from 12:29 to 12:30. So a lot of people use 12:30 as the official time. It could be 12:31, 12:32 before the first shots ring out. However, based on that, what we're trying to do is release this on multiple locals platforms. This is going to be David and Barnes's platform, our platform.
Barris, I think, might be. Maybe more. We're still talking with locals, so I don't want to put out names yet till we know for sure.
Okay, well, these 3 are in. So we're trying to expand it from the 3. And what we're going to do is at 12:30 Dallas time on November 22nd, release the AI version of my first script. And this will be a pay-per-view situation on Locals, and you'll receive a PDF of the Oswald Part 1 script. So you can actually follow, and you get to keep that. You can follow along at home of what you're hearing and seeing on the screen. And on the screen will be a montage of photos going by kind of in sync with the scripts, if we can master this by the 22nd. So you'll be seeing that and some music, but you'll be hearing the actual voices through AI technology of people like Jack Ruby, like Lee Harvey Oswald, like Walker, who are all featured in the script, especially in Part 1, which traces Oswald's entire life. And then over the next few months, we're going to release Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, and Part 5. So that's why we didn't want to address this Oswald as America's Untold Stories as a regular episode, because this is bigger, much bigger than anything anybody's ever attempted. This is probably the most revolutionary AI script project ever put together. And we felt it was a fitting time to do it because of the 60th anniversary. This is going to be a Locals exclusive. There's going to be different price points that we haven't worked out yet. There'll be links to the day of, to link to the project, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So, and then it'll be multiple Locals. We don't know how many different Locals platforms. There'll be different price points for members, but this will be a pay-per-view situation with different breaks depending on where you are in the Locals membership. We haven't figured that out yet. So anyway, so that is going to be Part 1, November 22nd at 12:30 Dallas time is what we're shooting for. And Eric and I are going to put a teaser out that you'll see when we're in Dallas. So we're going to, part of our panel discussion, we'll be talking about what I just talked about and actually releasing like a page or two as a sample.
All right. Now we're going to
add to that, or am I close?
Yeah, you're close. I mean, I don't want to get too detail oriented until we roll out.
No. I mean, if you have anything I left out, I don't know. I'm just winging it here.
No.
Okay, that sums it up. I think that's we're waiting till the last minute to do this, but we're getting close because this is the 10th already, and we got about 12 days.
Yep, and the pressure is on. So,
hey, the pressure was on me. I'll tell you.
We're not responding to emails and tweets and different things, and we seem like we're ducked under. Yeah, we are.
This is a race against time, my friends. This is a race against time.
Yes,
and this will
be
ambitious. It's a very ambitious project. I don't know if we can completely pull it off exactly, but we're committed to do it on the 22nd, and we're going to do it. And maybe on this Part 2, it'll be a little bit more refined, and we can go back and fix Part 1,
or revise it or tweak
it.
Right. There's more that I think we need to do, and we will do, but we just won't be able to do exactly that.
Right.
Stay tuned. Follow us to Locals on structuredlocals.com. You should be heading there right now. We've got a few tips to go through over there, and we'll see everybody else on Tuesday.